Good evening.
Bob.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Please mute your microphones just so that, unless you're counsel, so that we don't have as much feedback. Thank you, everyone, for being here. I have everybody.
So Dave doesn't know what they need.
Okay, we are live.
Okay, so if everyone can mute your microphones except for, well, actually, we are about to begin, so you're going to have to unmute again. All right, so thank you, everyone, for joining us. Here we go. Thank you for joining us for Upper Darby Township Council meeting for February 17th, 2021. At this point in time, we are going to begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Mayor Keffer has the flag in her screen. So if everyone could stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence. So I gotta put my cat down. Okay, there we go. So I pledge allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic
for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And then a moment of silence for those that have been lost. Thank you. At this point in time, please mute your microphone so that we don't have an echo. And could Councilwoman Phillips, can you give us a roll call?
Yes, Council President.
Public service call.
And hold on a second. I'm going to mute everyone.
You just muted me.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead and unmute yourself, Michelle. You need it. Michelle, Councilwoman Phillips, you can unmute yourself.
Yeah.
There you go.
You.
I just wanted to make sure everyone was muted because we were getting background noises.
Yep.
So,
So,
okay, go ahead.
Councilman Tunis,
Present.
Councilwoman Michelle Phillips is here. Councilman Silva,
Here,
Councilwoman Blackwell,
Present.
Councilman Gwen,
Present.
Councilman Burke,
Present.
Councilman Siddiq,
Present.
Councilwoman Faralia,
Here.
Councilman Barnett,
Here.
Councilman Wagner,
Here.
and Council President Wentz.
Here.
All present and accounted for.
Great. And then we have Treasurer Heyman, we have Solicitors Kilkenny and Richardson, we have CAO Rangione, Mayor Keffer, we have Alexis, we have our awardees for our Black History Month awards. We have Bart Everett and Desiree Murphy and Gloria Edwards. We have, I should look at my list. We also have presenters from our different land developments that will be in discussion, and I'll let them introduce themselves at when we get to their point in the agenda. Okay, so I just wanted to thank everyone for being here. You guys are all amazing. We greatly appreciate you. All right, so next up is rules of meeting decorum. Upper Darby Township Council and residents will maintain professional respect for each other. Council encourages free speech. However, civility is required, which would prohibit threats, profanity, scandalous, impertinent, and redundant comment, or any comment the discernible purpose of which is to disrupt or prevent the conduct of business of the meeting. Okay. Next up, we have the approval of the minutes for the committee meeting of January 13th. Can we get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Blackwell and Sadiq.
Yes.
Are there any questions or concerns on these minutes? Seeing none, council members, turn on your microphones. All those in favor of passing the minutes of the committee meeting for January 13th, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, say your name. Ayes have it. Thank you. Next up, we have the, can we get a motion to approve the council meeting minutes for January 27th, 2021?
So
Is there a
moved.
motion? Councilman Gwynn, and
Seconded.
I think I heard Phillips.
Yes.
Okay, are there any questions or concerns on these minutes? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor of passing the minutes from January 27th council meeting, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed, say your name. Ayes have it. Thank you. Okay, so next up, can we get Mr. Alberts on for public forum?
Thank you, Council President.
And so if everyone can mute your microphone except for Ms. Phillips, she and I are timekeepers. So let us get our clocks going. Hold on 1 second. Okay, are you ready, Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Okay. Great. And Mr. Alberts, go.
Okay, we received 25 comments here. First is Christine Mulholland, 1000 Concord Avenue. Dear Council, could anyone tell me who and why this holiday's observance's name was changed? Prior to 2021, it was observed as Good Friday. Why can't we call it what it is? Good Friday, not spring holiday. Cancel culture isn't cool. Is Christmas going to be renamed Winter Holiday?
Okay, was that it?
That's it, yep.
Okay, sorry. Did it? Okay, Mayor, did you, I don't know the answer. If you wanted to weigh in.
I believe the mayor has it in her mayor's address. to
Yeah,
address
yeah.
the issue.
I'll say something.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to hear and listen to all the comments and have something to say about it in the mayor's address. So.
Okay, great, awesome, thank you so much. Greatly appreciate that. Okay, and Mr. Alberts, go.
Kathy Malloy, 2408 Stony Brook Lane. Madam Mayor and council members, thank you for allowing me to voice my concerns regarding the elimination of the simple words Good Friday on our 2021 schedule. Should I respectfully disagree, my words will still be read, correct? When and why was this arbitrary decision made? If I recall correctly, the Good Friday holiday was negotiated through union contract well before some of you were even elected. The words transparency and inclusiveness only seem to apply when it suits your agenda. What's next? Will Easter soon be renamed Bunny Day? I fear this is the first baby step in a campaign to erase any expressions of our faiths. This is cancel culture run amok. Right now it's Christians, but be forewarned, your beliefs may be next on their agenda. When one group loses standing, all might. Once again, thank you for your consideration. Kathy Malloy.
Thank you. And next.
Liz Meyer, 610, or sorry, Elizabeth and Alan Meyer, 610 Orchard Way. As 42-year residents and taxpayers of Upper Darby Township, we strongly oppose the proposed rezoning and commercial development of the Thompson Tract at 800 East Providence Road. The addition of roughly 240 apartments in our community is in direct conflict with the RC residential conservation zoning initiated in 1985 to conserve environmentally sensitive areas. Overdevelopment of this property will adversely affect the quality of life and character of the surrounding neighborhoods, with significant loss of green space and wildlife habitat, increased vehicular traffic, including support services for trash removal, police, and fire, harsh commercial lighting of parking lots, overflow parking on adjacent streets, and an added burden to our educational system. Due diligence on the part of the purchaser of the Thompson Tract would have certainly revealed the restrictions set for RC zoning. To claim now that building within zoning codes, single-family homes, would be a financial hardship is absurd and will set a precedent to overturn established zoning according to one's own will. That's all.
Okay. Councilwoman Faralia, I know that there was a conversation that they were going to have a meeting with the residents. Do you know if that happened yet?
No, I think just the residents met with their attorney that's going to represent them, but not everybody.
There hasn't been a meeting with the company, with the community yet?
Nope.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
But I'll bring it up under zoning.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. And Mr. Alberts, go ahead.
Francis Simcoe, 532 Drexel Avenue. Please do not change Good Friday into spring holiday. Thank you. That's all. Next.
Go ahead.
Is Pat Florio. This person sent an email and then followed it up with their contact information to make sure it was included in the record. So it'll read it as it came in. Pat Florio, 1105 Wild Avenue. I have been a resident here for 51 years. Changing the name without people's opinion is not legal. So you close the comment, phone, and email. What is next? Are you still having a virtual meeting, or has that been closed as well? I sure wish Drexel Hill could leave Upper Darby and stand on its own. Next.
Okay, hold on and go.
John and Margaret Peggy Schmidt, 720 East Providence Road. To Upper Darby Council members, my husband and I very strongly oppose the request for a variance for 800 East Providence Road, Thompson Tract, and the building of 240 apartments. This could be equivalent to over 400 cars. Traffic on Providence Road is currently very heavy and is bumper to bumper during morning and evening rush hours. We have difficulty getting in and out of our driveways. Traffic would also be a nightmare on Springfield Road and surrounding streets. The apartments would also be a burden on our already overcrowded school district, specifically Primos, DHMS, and UDHS. This property is zoned for single-family homes and is surrounded on 3 sides by single-family homes. These outside developers knew this when they bought the property, and we resent their attempt to destroy our quality of life to make a buck. Our property values will plummet. At least one neighbor is listing their house as a result of this issue. My husband has lived in our house since it was built over 70 years ago. We hope to live out our retirement years here. We urge Upper Darby Council and the Zoning Board to reject the application for a variance. That's it.
Okay.
All right. Joseph and Christy Troy, 507 Main Avenue. Good evening. We are 35-year residents of 507 Main Avenue, and our home abuts the property often referred to as the Thompson Tract. We urge the Township Council and the Zoning Board to deny the request from the Dwight City Group to change the zoning of the Thompson Tract from RC Residential Conservation to C2 General Commercial District. According to the zoning notice posted on the property at 800 East Providence Road and dated February 10th, 2021, quote, Dwight City Group has appealed to the Zoning Hearing Board for a use variance under Article 3, Section 301 from single-family detached dwelling to multifamily dwelling apartments. The total number of apartments shall not exceed 240. Site requires full utility tie-ins and private road and would be cost prohibitive to develop single-family homes, end quote. The schematic master plan submitted by Dwight City Group shows 20 three-story structures with 2 dwelling units each and 240 dwelling units with 240 parking spaces. This proposed change would sit in the middle of 3 existing neighborhoods with single-family detached homes, Hilldale, Penn Manor, and Penn Pines. If the zoning board approves the change, these communities of families will directly feel the impact of this zoning change in the form of decreased property values. Given that the proposed new private drive would be one-way and would connect to the Penn Manor neighborhood via Main Avenue, traffic would increase significantly. In addition, this new traffic pattern would also impact the heavily traveled roads of Providence Road and Springfield Road. The lack of adequate parking, 240 parking spaces as noted in the Dwight City Group schematic for these apartments, could result with excess cars spilling into the neighboring streets. The proposed zoning change is likely to impact enrollment in the Upper Darby School District, as well as the Upper Darby Township services, including police, fire rescue, highway, and sanitation. The environmental effect on the Darby Creek and the wildlife that it supports is unknown. Thank you.
Okay. And next.
Next is Kenya Boyle, 320 Watkins Avenue. Hello, my name is Mrs. Kenya Boyle. I live at 320 Watkins Avenue, Upper Darby, PA, 19082. I live in this house for 15 years, but have been an Upper Darby resident since 1989 as a child, as well as raising my kids here to adulthood. I am concerned and worried. My neighbor who lives at 324 Watkins Avenue has 2 sons. The one son with the white car, which is quiet, but her other son, who is about 29 years old, I think, is out front with his friends, blasting music at different times throughout the week and at different times in the evening and late at night. It's worse during the summer. It sounds like a block party. They have what looks like a car gang or club. It's about 10 Crown Victoria cars between the front of the Watkins Senior Center and out front of my house. The bass on their cars are so loud, it shakes my living room tables. The sounds overshadows my TV sound in my living room. I think the son is staying with his mom in the house. I just started seeing him around March. I have asked him numerous times to please lower the volume, but it goes right back up. I have called the police and the police tell them to leave and they come right back. They have the hoods up on their cars as if it's a garage. You smell marijuana. They have babies sometimes running around and all you see are beer bottles. The trash in the street has increased from this. I have even seen them urinate on the side of the garage across the street from the senior center. They also burn rubber out front. My last daughter, who is 14, has a mild intellectual disability, anxiety, and a speech disorder, and she gets really upset because she's afraid of the noise. She's afraid and feels unsafe of the cars. She feels they might run into our home. She has school and doesn't need to be awoken by the noise at 11 o'clock at night. I have talked to his mom, and she does nothing. When I ask the son to turn down the music, his friends become indignant towards me. When they do leave, they go to the bottom of the steps next to the A field in the parking lot near the dumpsters behind Mecca Furniture and burn rubber. The music is so loud when they are in the parking lot, it still sounds like it's in front of the house still. I had to call my neighbor from around the corner, Rich Bly, for advice on what to do, and he suggested I email my concerns. He also sat in the parking lot and saw the chaos. He called the police and they never came. My daughter doesn't want to go out front because of this. The son has 2 cars that he parks horizontally and almost blocks my car in. I worry if there is an emergency that the fire department won't be able to get back here. This part is not from him, but I also hear gunshots out front of the house, which doesn't help with feeling anxious. I don't want to leave Upper Darby because this has been my home since I was 12, but I will have to if this continues. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Councilman Siddiq and Silva did go out and checked out the situation. Did Councilman Siddiq, you wanted to say something about it?
Yes. Good evening, everyone. Myself and Councilman Matt Silva, we visit day before yesterday, and she was concerned about the letter. She write it down, and we told her that we're going to discuss this matter in the council meeting. By this time, if there's any emergency situation, she have to call 911. Mr. Silva, Councilman Silva, you want to add something with this one? Councilman Silva, would you like to add?
No, I mean, yeah, we did speak to her, like, we're just trying to come up with some ideas for her concerns. I think it was Monday night that we spoke with her, and then, just trying to find some kind of way to this is difficult neighbors. Sometimes, that can happen to anyone. So we want to make sure that we're able to do something, because this is sort of an extreme case. So we hope that, that we're able to rectify the situation one way or the other. At this time, I don't think there's something I can add more than that, but
I would like to add one more comment. It's a very tiny blocks, only 4 houses. From 420 to 424, 4 houses only. And in front of the house, there's a parking lot. So I think that is the lot they are parking over there and having all the car race and all these things. So we're going to talk with our police department or our officials that what we can, or how we can help her.
Right. So CAO Rangione, I know that you were tagged on an email in reference to this when it first came to us. So I figured that you were going to be looking into it, but.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome.
Yep.
Thank you. Thank you. Great. And then.
Councilman Wagner has his hand up. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. I wasn't. Oh, there he is. Sorry, Councilman Wagner. Did you want to comment?
I'm just wondering if anybody has talked directly to Superintendent Bernhardt. A problem like that, it sounds like such a small, isolated problem. It's not. That's a terrible problem for the people who live on that street. And the only ones who can really deal with it effectively, in my experience, are the police, who know the area, know the community, who patrol it, and so on. I think a conversation with Mr. Bernhardt on it directly is in order, and I don't think it matters a whole lot who has that conversation, whether it's Mr. Rangione or one of the council people or whoever, but that would be my suggestion.
Great, thank you. And I think it's saying that's in a normal situation, people would be going to the Watkins Center on a regular basis, and because of COVID and the lack of people constantly going there, it might be part of the reason for all of this being as bad as it got before we heard about it. So yeah, definitely. Thank you. Okay, and then Mr. Alberts, go.
Linda Carruthers, 535 Wood Glen Road. As a resident who has lived here since 1980, I am vehemently opposed to this proposed zoning change from residential conservation to commercial. This neighborhood promotes nature, wildlife, and quiet amidst one of the most populous counties in Pennsylvania. This peaceful area must be maintained as the quality of life is high due to friendly, familiar neighbors and limited vehicle traffic. The variety of birds, for example, owls, hawks, deer, fox, and beautiful trees, would suffer tremendously from both construction and additional housing. The immediate and long-term disruption to the environment would be intense and ruin the little remaining natural land. An essential task of our local government leaders is to protect this unique land and be proud of its inclusion in an otherwise very dense township. Resulting negative impacts to our neighborhood from this zoning proposal include real estate devaluation, increased traffic, increased noise and light pollution, and further burdens to our public schools and municipal resources. That's all for that one.
Okay, and next.
Kathleen McGuigan, 2433 Cedar Lane. There would be no spring holiday to be had were it not for Christ dying on the cross on Good Friday. Why did you feel it necessary to insult the vast majority of your constituents by slapping a different label on the day? You should poll your constituents that are not Christian and see if they are offended by the term Good Friday. I think you will also find a vast majority there would not care for the change or are indifferent. Do you feel we do not have enough problems that you needed to make some up? Please just grow up, change it back, and work on real Upper Darby issues: crime, litter, local businesses, property taxes, etc. I just had young woman sleeping in her car in front of my home for 3 days, probably on meth, I'm told. So I know these problems really do exist. That's all for that one.
Okay, and next.
Sally Grande, 607 Montana Avenue. As a resident homeowner for the past 43 years at 607 Montana Avenue, Penn Manor section of Upper Darby, I strongly oppose the variance requesting construction of an apartment complex on the site of the formerly known Thompson Tract. The idea of said development in the middle of an exclusively residential neighborhood is in no way in the best interest of its present residents. There is a vast difference between a neighborhood and a development, and I appeal to the board to take that into consideration. We do not need an additional 240 plus dwellings to add to the already increasing traffic in our area. Nor do we need the absence of the last remaining green space, which has served as a nature habitat for decades. Thank you for your kind consideration and attention to this important matter. That's all for that one.
Okay, and next.
Next is Diane Lombardo, 515 Main Avenue. I am writing to voice my opposition to approval for the variance application of Dwight Citigroup for the Thompson Tract. A 240-unit apartment complex would be detrimental to our community for the following reasons: increased congestion in traffic, decreased safety on the surrounding streets due to the increase in traffic, overcrowding in our schools, which is already an issue, it will just worsen, reduction of open space in a township that has very little open space left. Thank you.
Okay, and next.
Rita Morley, 917 Shadeland Avenue. I am surprised and take offense with the renaming of this year's Good Friday holiday as Spring Holiday. Good Friday is still observed as a holiday in 12 states: Connecticut, Delaware, Georgia, Hawaii, Indiana, Kentucky, Louisiana, North Carolina, North Dakota, New Jersey, Tennessee, and Texas. The only reason there is a holiday at all is because of Good Friday. I would like to know the reasoning behind this and who approved the change. I would like to express my displeasure with the new format of the residential trash and recycling schedule. Although it was probably redone to save paper, I find it very difficult to read the calendar. That's all.
Okay, and next.
Richard Knight, 315 Riverview Avenue, Drexel Hill, PA. Please do not cancel the very religious holiday of Good Friday and call it something else. That thought is as ill-advised as canceling Christmas or Easter or Hanukkah or Passover or some other very religious holiday which is important to people of faith. What's next? Canceling St. Patrick's Day and Thanksgiving or renaming them? That's all for that one.
Okay, and next.
Next is from Donald Procopio, 514 Montana Avenue. I am writing to comment on the proposed use variance request by Dwight Citigroup for the planned development on 800 East Providence Road, item 1-2 of 2021 on the Zoning Hearing Board February 25th, 2021 meeting. Echoing my comments from the letter I sent to the council for your January 29th meeting, as a 36-year resident of Upper Darby, I strongly oppose this variance request. In the official zoning variance application, the developer has listed one reason for his proposed variance, namely that, quote, site requires full utility tie-ins in a private road. This would be cost prohibitive to develop single-family homes, end quote. Yet there was another development within this past 30 years, one street over from this planned construction, which in fact involves single-family homes, utility tie-ins, and a new road, Carriage Lane. I think that fact is evidence enough to disallow this variance request. Further, new single-family homes have been added to the Penn Manor portion of the neighborhood on Massachusetts Avenue within the past 15 years. Additional evidence that the site can be developed economically within the current zoning restrictions. In addition, in order for there to be approval of such a use variance, I would expect the zoning board to hold the applicant to the same standards I was held to as a property owner in Upper Darby when I submitted a variance request some years ago. At that time, I was asked to prove that my construction would not alter the nature or look of the neighborhood and would not unduly tax any township services. I see no evidence of the applicant providing answers to those questions in this development. Surely a 240-unit apartment building placed in a single-family home neighborhood with zoning that only allows single-family homes would completely change the nature and look of the neighborhood, would place undue stress on police and fire protection, would increase traffic congestion in the area, and further burden our overpopulated local school system. I would ask that the council discuss this topic after this and other similar letters are read, rather than defer the issue as you did in your January meeting, noting that the application had been withdrawn. Today, this application stands on the February 25th, 2021 Zoning Hearing Board agenda, and I believe the unelected Zoning Hearing Board could use the guidance of our elected council members in deliberating that application. Also, as a voter in this community, I'm interested in hearing where my elected representatives stand on this topic. Thank you.
Okay, and next.
Next is Francis Russell, 725 Roselawn Avenue. I would like to vehemently object the proposed zoning change regarding the Thompson tract. When I and others purchased our homes in this area, it was understood that the acreage could only be developed for detached single-family homes. We would not have purchased here otherwise. This change in zoning would have a devastating effect on hundreds of households in our area. Not only would our property values be adversely affected, but the quality of life which we enjoy would change significantly. To even consider this change in zoning would be a complete betrayal of all the Upper Darby residents in this area. In these unprecedented, turbulent times, our homes have been a secure and stabilizing refuge. To grant this variance for the building of 240 apartments on the Thompson tract in the midst of an unpredictable pandemic and political upheaval in the country would further threaten our peace of mind, health, safety, and security. That's all for that one.
Okay, and next.
Next is Kathy Landy, 136 North Carroll Boulevard. Hi, I would like to ask why the township building is not open to the public at this late time during the COVID. Other businesses are open and the banks are open. And yeah, saying this is Kathy Landy. Thank you.
Okay. CAO, did you want to weigh in on our what's the status of our township buildings in reference to COVID?
Yeah, sure. It's just not prudent from a public health perspective to open the building at this time. We're able to offer a full or nearly full complement of township services online, over the phone, through the mail, etc. And as the COVID numbers improve, we will consider opening up the township building. But to compare the township building to a for-profit business that needs to open in order to survive is not a fair comparison. The public health and public trust are our business. And so we can't take unnecessary risks with the health of the public. So that's where we are.
And people can come by the township building and drop off their taxes. If they want to pay their taxes, they can drop off an envelope with their with the information in there and the money in it and drop it off. So it's the building's open to the point of people can still communicate with those inside. It's just that it's not open door policy at this point in time.
Correct. Yep, absolutely.
Okay. Okay, so you can pay your bill, you can pay your tax bill, you can pay your parking tickets. Those things you can go to the township and pay if you don't want to drop them in the mail. Councilman Gwynn? You need to unmute yourself.
Just an additional comment. They should also have a stamp on the return envelope so it gets back to them.
Yes, yes. If you're paying for your taxes in person, put a stamp on a return envelope with your address so that the township can send you a receipt, right?
Correct. Yep.
Awesome. Great. Thank you. Okay. And then Mr. Alberts, go.
Heather Klein, 716 Elm Tree Road. To whom it may concern, I am writing this letter in regard to the zoning variance submitted by the Dwight Group to change the Thompson tract from the current zoning of RC to C2. That is to be reviewed in the upcoming meeting next Thursday, February 25th. There are many reasons I vehemently oppose this proposed zoning change. First and foremost being that it would negatively impact my property value as well as the integrity of my neighborhood. My property abuts the Thompson tract. I reside at 716 Elm Tree Road. I chose this property for many reasons. One being that it was on a dead-end street and had little traffic. As well, despite the neighborhood having no sidewalks, the amount of traffic is quite light and supports walking in the neighborhood, something I do with my dog every day, and many of my neighbors share in that exercise. The other obvious reasons for my opposition are loss of open space, encroachment on the creek, and wildlife it supports, including hawks, owls, fox, and deer, overcrowding of schools that are already at capacity, and traffic. If anyone has traveled Springfield Road any weekday afternoon after 2:30, it is already congested and takes anywhere between 20 minutes to half an hour just to go 4 miles, the route from Township line to Providence Road. I can't think of anywhere in Upper Darby Township where such a huge zoning change has been approved. I would be interested to know if there are any areas other than maybe 69th Street where this may have occurred. The Dwight Group has stated that they revitalize neighborhoods, but our Roselawn neighborhood, in my opinion, is doing just fine, considering houses in the last 6 months have been selling very quickly and at or above asking price. It concerns me also that the Dwight Group, based on their website, predominantly rehabilitates existing apartment buildings, so it may not be in Upper Darby's best interest for them to do a new build from the ground up, especially seeing the design that was proposed for January's zoning meeting. Lastly, it seems our neighborhood has gone through this process several times in the past. Just because the partnership that owns the property wants to make a huge profit, they want to change the rules. When I make a poor investment or have not the desired return on an investment, I don't go knocking on my neighbor's door and ask them or anyone else what they are going to do about it. In my mind, that is why zoning ordinances are in place and everyone needs to follow the rules. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And next,
Next is Kathleen Geisheimer, address 936 Foss Avenue. I am the grandmother of 2 elementary-aged children that live in the 700 block of Wildell Avenue. This school year's Upper Darby Township took away the bus service for Aronimink elementary children who live below State Road. This includes children from Drexelbrook Apartments and those living in the 700 block of streets below State Road. How does the township expect these small children to walk back and forth to Aronimink? There are no crossing guards on State Road between Vermont Road and the Drexeline Shopping Center. There are no traffic signals or stop signs. I would appreciate a response from someone before one of our children are seriously hurt or even killed trying to cross this street. We need a solution to this problem immediately. This is much more important than worrying about what the Good Friday holiday should be called. I would hope that the mayor would agree with me. Thank you.
so unfortunately, because it's a school-related issue, that it would have to go to the school board because we do not have anything to do with the school buses or crossing guards. They're all hired by the school district. So,
Correct.
Mr. Alberts, can you forward that comment to me so I can forward it to school board directors? Is that okay?
Yeah, that's not a problem.
Awesome. Thank you. Councilman Burke?
Yes, thank you, President Wentz. I agree with the comment you just made, but doesn't this crossing guards fall under Superintendent Bernhardt?
To me, so I can forward it to school. There's no, not for school crossing guards.
No?
They're part of the school district.
Okay, I thought they fell under our police department.
Just to clarify, sorry, in most other places, that is how the crossing guards work. But in the Upper Darby School District, it's currently handled by the school district.
One less problem we have.
Exactly.
And I think our officers only ever got involved when it was between the high school and Bonner, the big schools letting out at the same time, and all the kids were heading to the different shopping centers. But they weren't there as crossing guards or anything. They were just there to, keep the peace, which is what they do. So, okay, great. And Mr. Alberts, go.
Donna Colalori, 736 East Providence Road. Yes, this is Donna Colalori. I live at 736 East Providence Road, which is right down the street from the 10+ acres that is up for rezoning. I am against the rezoning because of, for one thing, the huge amount of influx of cars on that road would be very traffic crazy. So if we could possibly leave as is because the traffic is bad enough. I've already lost a good friend on that road due to speeding, and the property damage up and down Providence over the years has been incredible. You can even call me and ask me. It's happened to my home property several times. Thank you.
Thank you. And go.
Helen Wilson, 903 West Penn Pines Boulevard. I am writing to express my opposition to the proposal to permit the development of 240 residential apartments on the property at 800 Providence Road. I am relatively new to the neighborhood, having purchased my home in May 2019. I have been pleased to live in this quiet, friendly, ethnically, and economically diverse neighborhood. The addition of this proposed apartment complex would negatively impact our community in at least three major ways. One, traffic flow. Both Providence Road and nearby Springfield Road are heavily traveled thoroughfares on which traffic tends to back up at certain times of day. The addition of 240 residential units would slow traffic even more, making it harder for residents to get around. Two, environmental. The proposed site is near hills and a creek. The currently existing woodlands are essential to preventing serious flooding in this watershed area. Furthermore, the project would mean destroying a habitat which is home to a wide variety of wildlife. As the deer move from their current woodland habitat to our backyards, will we experience a rise in insect-borne illnesses such as Lyme disease? As foxes and other carnivores move closer to our residences, will family pets be endangered? 3, community character. The developer, Dwight City Group, includes the following statement on the investment strategy page on its website. Quote, as urban development and major cities evolve, neighborhoods and surrounding and commutable towns become encompassed within the metropolitan landscape, end quote. I lived within the city of Philadelphia for about 45 years. Having finally escaped the city, the last thing I want is for my newly purchased suburban home to, quote, become encompassed within the metropolitan landscape, end quote. The Dwight Group's About Us page states that they formed their company to, quote, focus on the growing need for affordable luxury apartments in revitalizing neighborhoods, end quote. What growing need? The developers are trying to create a need where none exists. We are not looking to see our community revitalized or gentrified. We do not want to become an extension of the city. We are quite sufficiently vital and like our community just as it is. Thank you.
Okay, and next.
Nicole Kelly, 500 California Avenue. My name is Nicole Kelly, and I live at 500 California Avenue, and I am resending this letter in hopes to encourage a discussion this time around, since it was unable to be touched on the last council meeting. I'm writing to state my strong opposition of the development on Providence Avenue. I am a first-time homeowner. This home is incredibly special to me, not just because it's our first home and our first milestone, but because it is the home that my grandparents owned and lived in. I've had many holidays, birthdays, and celebrations here. I made a lifelong best friend with a neighbor across the street. I visited this house and neighborhood my entire life before residing here, and it has always brought me joy. The neighborhood looks exactly as it has as long as I can remember it by. I'm 31, haha. And in a world that's constantly evolving and changing, it's nice to be somewhere you've always been and still feel like a familiar place and look like the place you always knew. It's a place that holds many, many memories. The building of this development will bring years of disruption, of peace and tranquility this neighborhood provides. This will be years of heavy noise and construction. I lived in the Bronx the past 6 years before moving into Alden. I know what the city life is like. I do not want to feel like I'm living in a city. It's crowds, crime, and congestion. I'm not interested in being near it again. And although that's a very dramatic comparison, it's part of the reason I moved in the first place. I'd hate to feel like I'm back in it again. In all, everything about this development is a terrible idea, and they can go and take it someplace else. Please leave the neighborhood the way it is. Thank you.
Okay, and next.
Meg Massaro, 712 Wildell Road. It is a shame that you determined one of your first actions as the new Democratic mayor and council would be to remove Good Friday as a township holiday. This day has been celebrated for as long as I can remember. As you are aware, it is the holiest day on the Christian calendar, which people celebrate with prayer. It is a telling story that you thought it so important to take the time and our tax money to make this change, and without any input of the residents of this township who pay the taxes that keep our government running. This is a discriminatory blow to the Christians of our township, and I urge you to rescind your decision. There are many other urgent items in our township that need to be addressed, but they seem to be ignored when they are brought up. For instance, our high taxes, which are causing residents to sell their homes and move elsewhere. Several people brought that up in the past, but council and the mayor have not addressed that as yet. In fact, this year you increased the sewer taxes by double digits, which makes things even worse. Then there is the issue with the increased crime and the bad reputation of some of the schools. To solve the crime problem, you have eliminated the police canine division and SWAT team. As far as the problems in the schools, it looks as though you are paying Eventbrite to come in and schedule a meeting to discuss that situation. I suppose that is costing us more money, which we cannot afford. Why can't a township employee form a volunteer committee to handle that situation? In summary, I ask that Good Friday remain in the township calendar. Since our taxes are paying for the decisions which the mayor and council make, we should get to speak up on it. I feel it is important that you ask the residents of this township for their input on this important decision and other decisions that are causing our taxes to continue to skyrocket. I urge you do rethink this decision on Good Friday. Also, regarding the juxtaline shopping center, I urge you to speak with the residents of Clarendon, Wildell, Stanbridge, Woodland, and the other streets that will be adversely affected by the increased traffic due to the fact that you agreed to 190 condo units at that site instead of the original 142, which was too many also. The traffic is bad now, but if you leave that decision for 190 units in the mix, you will be destroying the area. Please schedule a town hall to discuss that also. Our input should been requested before the decision was made. That's all for
Okay.
that one.
Okay, hold there. I just want to clarify the K9 unit and SWAT were not they still exist. The SWAT vehicle was returned to its original location, but K9 unit is still, we're actually in our capital budget plan is to get more canines. So we do strongly support our canine units. On taxes, our millage rate was I froze on that, was something neutral.
Yeah, revenue neutral millage rate. Yeah, no increase in taxes and no increase in sewer or trash fee either. I mean, that's a very material misstatement of fact.
Okay, that's
in
what I
the
thought.
aggregate. In the aggregate, it was tax neutral, but somebody's may have gone up and others may have gone lower.
Right. If your property was assessed higher by the county, then your taxes may have gone up because of that higher assessment, but not because of the millage rate approved by council, provided by mayor and administration. In fact, the millage rate is the lowest. I think it's among the lowest it's ever been. So, yeah, just wanted to clarify those things in reference to that comment. Okay, and then anyone else on that? Seeing none. And Mr. Alberts, go.
Susan Borio, 1101 Cobb Street in Drexel Hill. I live at 1101 Cobb Street in Drexel Hill, and I was deeply disturbed that the mayor, without disclosing it to any of the Upper Darby Township residents, changed Good Friday to Spring Day. I don't know the reasoning behind it. I have some speculations on it, but I'm very involved at St. Bernadette and St. Dorothy Parish here in Drexel Hill. I did send an email to Archbishop Perez's assistant regarding this. So I wanted to let you know that as well. And I think it would be very nice if the mayor, as a graduate of O'Hara, I am a graduate of Archbishop Carroll, would give some type of explanation as to why this is being done. I think it's disgraceful, and I would like her to explain why she decided to do this without letting us know. Thank you so much, and God bless you. Bye-bye.
Okay, and next.
We have Joanne Boyle, 12 Arborlee Road. I oppose any change to the present variance of the Thompson Tract, which is RC zoning, which permits only single-family detached homes on 15,000 square foot lots. Any change of this variance would cause substantial detriment to the public. The Dwight City Group is looking to change current variance as they are proposing 240-unit apartment complex that would completely alter the integrity of the surrounding neighborhoods. The population density would enormously increase, causing traffic congestion on Providence Road and neighboring streets in the Roselawn, Penn Manor, and Penn Pines sections. This will lead to overflow parking on neighboring streets, causing safety issues to the residents and their children. The variance sought will markedly decrease the purpose of providing adequate light, air, and open space, causing an undesirable visual environment. There will be an enormous problem with stormwater management. The HVAC system generated noise for the number of proposed units will be a detriment to the health of the adjacent residential neighborhoods. The area is already overpopulated. This would also negatively impact the already overcrowded Upper Darby schools and will negatively impact the police and fire and sanitation departments. As a homeowner that lives adjacent to the Thompson tract, I urge the Upper Darby Council and Zoning Board to reject the application of variance. And that concludes township comment. There are public comments.
Okay, great. Awesome. Wonderful. So public forum is concluded. At this point in time, we have the Honorable Mayor Barbara Ann Keffer. Go ahead. You're mute. Oh, there you go.
Okay, I'm unmuted. Okay. Good evening, everybody. I have a couple of updates. My administration continues to aggressively pursue grants that will increase reinvestment in our community. And we've recently applied for 2 multimodal grants, one for the Bishop Avenue Seeking train station area and one for Market Street at Powell Lane. And we are currently working on an application for grant funding to upgrade the Observatory Park and Chapman Park. And this weekend we'll be holding meetings to get community input on those. And tonight, council will vote on 2 important projects, the juxtaline development and also the expanded parking lot at the Seeking train station. We are really happy to see redevelopment in our township, and I support both these projects. And we're happy that, you know, there's outside agencies that recognize how important Upper Darby is, and they want to invest in us. The COVID-19 statistics are starting to improve in Delaware County, but we encourage everyone to remain vigilant by continuing to wear masks, as we see even right now with Councilwoman Michelle Billups and an awardee, Gloria, with their masks on. Anyway, so keep wearing masks, keep washing your hands, and practice social distancing as much as possible. It's not the time now to let your guard down. If you have questions, please contact the Delaware County COVID-19 call center, and the number is 484-267-2100. That's 484-267-2100. The call center can also help you navigate which eligibility group you belong to in the Pennsylvania COVID-19 spectrum, and also how to register to receive the vaccine when the time comes. We are preparing for another snow day and an ice storm. It's due to start tonight early in the morning and will continue tomorrow through Friday. Our crews have been out all day brining and preparing the roads. They will be salting and plowing as needed as snow accumulates. As always, please take your time and be extra cautious if you have to travel while it's snowing or sleeting or freezing raining. Non-essential travel is discouraged during these times, and we do appreciate your cooperation in helping to keep the snow emergency routes clear. In response to a lot of the comments that we've been getting, as a proud Cardinal O'Hara graduate and a Catholic myself, I know that Good Friday is a solemn Christian holy day, and it is important to many people. hear the concerns that have been raised regarding the name change on the township trash and recycling calendar. The change on this calendar was implemented in order for us to be more inclusive and respectful of Upper Darby's diverse community. We fully support, and I fully support, the observation of Good Friday by everyone who chooses to do so. So thank you and have a great evening.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Councilman Wagner.
Are questions to the mayor appropriate at this point?
No, not technically at this point in time. We, in new business or old business is more appropriate.
And so I respect that, but I would point out that there were a great many comments from the public on a couple of, or two primarily, very important subjects. And the mayor specifically said she wasn't going to comment then. She wanted to comment on those in her own part of this evening. Council members should be able to question her regarding her statements. And this makes it very awkward. It means I have to wait now until the end of the meeting to raise my questions. But you know,
Yes.
you're on the meeting, so if that's up to you, so be it. But I'd like it known that I think that procedure is not a good one.
Okay, but we're gonna wait until new business or old business to bring that up. Actually, new business, it was brought up for the first time tonight. So that's the right time to talk about it, okay? So right now we are moving on to my part of the equation, and I'm sharing mine with the Council Events Committee has been hosting a fabulous Black History Month celebration highlighting African-American women, past, present, women who have been doing an amazing things in their life. And so I'd like to thank all members of the committee for all their hard work, and Councilman Tunis, who creates the flyers for us that we post on our Township Council Facebook page. A new woman is celebrated every single day. So I'd like to thank them for all their hard work in reference to that. And at this point in time, we are going to have, we're honored the Upper Darby Council Events Committee Black History Month Awards. We're continuing it. Unfortunately, because we're virtual, we're not able to give you the awardees their awards in person at this time. And also I should mention that Councilwoman Billups has not signed the certificates yet. She will when I bring the resolutions to her in the next couple of days. She will sign the certificates at that point in time. So I apologize that they weren't fully signed by both of us prior to this meeting, but they will be signed by her in the very near future. So I just wanted to preface that. So the committee consists of myself, Council Secretary Billups, Councilwoman Blackwell of the 4th District, Councilman Tunis Jr. of the 7th District, and Councilman Silva, Councilman at large. At this point in time, I would like to pass the microphone over to Councilman Silva to introduce our Upper Darby Dedication to Community Award presented to Desiree Lamar Murphy. Go ahead, Councilman Silva.
Thank you, Council President. Tonight, it is my honor to.
I'm sorry, one second. Councilman, Mr. Alberts, can you share your screen also with the certificate? So we can multitask. So Councilman Silva, go ahead, and while you're going, he's gonna share that.
Which
Okay.
one do you want me to show first?
The Dedication to Community Award, Desiree Lamar Murphy.
Lamar Murphy.
Okay, go ahead, Councilman Silva.
All right, thank you. In doing the research this last, for the biographies that the council president alluded to, that we've been highlighting this month is a theme that I've noticed time and time again. And it's where African American women take an adversity that they're working, that they're suffering through, and they not only rise above it, but they use it as they use it to launch something good, something impressive. And it's just something that we've seen time and time again. And someone who really embodies that here from Upper Darby Township is Miss Desiree Lamar Murphy. She's a woman who suffered food insecurities as a child, worked through a lot of these issues and even into adulthood, and became successful, became able then to help other people who suffer these same food insecurity issues, even so much as launching a food pantry out of her home, which is during this crisis is just kind of an amazing amount of self-sacrifice for something that must be near and dear to her heart and something that she must be extremely passionate about. So tonight it is my honor to give the Upper Darby Township Council Award dedication to Community Award to Miss Desiree Lamar Murphy.
Ms. Desiree, please turn your microphone on and please say a few words.
Good evening. I'd like to take this opportunity to say thank you for this award. Thank you to Bob Gwynn for his support and his visits out to the pantry to see how we operate. And thank you for Michelle Billups and everyone else for inviting me here today. I just want to say it's really an honor, not just to be here, but to be able to serve the people of the community. When I first moved to Upper Darby, I felt a little isolated, like I didn't know how to serve. And the pandemic for many has been detrimental to their lives. But for me, there were some rocky moments of uncertainty and anxiety. But for me, it was more of an eye-opening experience. But I'm grateful that God was able to allow me to do what I do. Because in this, I'm able to not only serve my community, but I'm able to have conversations with people, to meet people, to learn more about people's needs, and to be able to reach out to resources, to be able to give them the resources that they need. And the resources are not just food, it's healthcare information. It was political information during the election. It's clothing. It's anything that you all have at your homes and that you all need for your everyday lives. We try to brainstorm ways, and it's not just me. It's my mom, it's my family members, my friends, all the volunteers. Even some of the people that come have asked if they can come and volunteer because they see the need and they just don't want to take, they want to give back too. So I thank you all for allowing me to do this in the community and for the community, because it's all about giving back to the community.
Great, thank you so much. Congratulations. We will be getting this certificate to you in the very near future. Of course, completely signed and in a proper folder and so forth. But I'm hoping next week we'll be able to, I can gather the committee together and we can come and see you and see what you've got going on so that we can help you in your endeavors even more. So awesome. Well, thank you so much. Thank you for all that you do. We greatly appreciate you and all that you're doing for our community. It takes a village, as you've pointed out, for us to all succeed. So thank you very much. Awesome. All right, so next up, also I wanted to point out, I'd like to thank Peggy Wilson for the creation of the certificates of awards for us. So thank you. That was excellent, Ms. Wilson. Okay, next up we have the Community Activist Award being presented by Councilwoman Billups to Miss Gloria Edwards. So please take away, Miss Billups. You're mute. Wait, you're muted. You're muted. You were.
Sorry. I am here with Gloria Edwards, who is not only my neighbor, but she is my friend. Just a little bit of background about her. Gloria, she lived in Upper Darby since 1999. She purchased her home in 2000. She actually been going to our committee meetings for a while when we were actually in person. And she actually received, this is how well she is loved around the community. I don't know if you guys can see this. She actually received a volunteer in the community in 2007 by the Honorable Raymond Shea when he was mayor. So she's been doing this volunteer thing for a while. She was a block captain when we were doing that in Upper Darby. And so she's a good person. She volunteered to give out food at 69th Street. So I'm honored and humbled to give the Community Activist Award to Miss Gloria Edwards.
Miss Gloria, can you say a few words? I enjoy working with you on Saturdays over this past year. So please say a few words.
Yes, I will say a few words. And first of all, thank you again. Good night to everybody. And most of all, I want to give my best to my mayor because I used to go to meetings together with her in those days. Anyway, my name is Gloria Edwards and I live at 6806 Clover Lane, and it's been a pleasure. And it was really a big surprise when my neighbor called me and she told me that I am going to be rewarded on Wednesday. And it was, I did not know what to say. I was lost. I really was lost for words. So I had to ask her, well, why? And she told me, well, you have been working, helping to give out boxes. And it just started innocently because the first time it happened, I was passing and I saw this line of people and I stopped and I went in and I said, is there anything I can do? And it was cut. And he said, well, no, not right now, but if you want to volunteer, we give boxes out on Wednesdays and Saturdays. And from that time, I have been doing my very, very best because Upper Darby has been good to me. And I have to show the best that I have is to help others. And I don't know how else to do it. And I'm so grateful that I have been awarded this, not only for this, but for what else I can do to help not only my street, but my community. And I am very, very thankful to all of you who put this together for me, especially my neighbor here. She just shocked me and I just could not say anything. I was very, very thankful and still very thankful because there's a lot more to do in this community. And I do my best as much as I can, whenever I can. And thanks again, everybody.
Thank you. And you are amazing and a role model for the rest of us. So thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. All right. So next up, we have the Upper Darby Council Achievement Award being given to Bart Everett, and Councilwoman Blackwell is going to present this award. Councilwoman Blackwell, take it away.
All right. Can you hear me now?
Yep.
All right, thank you. So Mr. Bart Evans is a college librarian and writer who has lived in the Highland Park neighborhood since 2018. He is involved in several community groups, including the 4th District Community Group, Highland Park Civic Association, the Upper Darby Corporation for Community and Economic Development, and Upper Darby Pride. The Upper Darby Historic Commission and the Library Board. He also promotes events and news in the township through the Upper Darby Digest Instagram page, as well as various social media outlets, and has covered unique stories about Upper Darby for hitting City, Philadelphia. So I would like to thank Bart on my behalf personally and professionally. Bart has been instrumental in securing, and based on his involvement in the community groups, that deserves the Upper Darby Council Achievement Award is for you. And I am very happy and grateful to give this to you. So we appreciate you and we are grateful for all that you have done for Upper Darby.
So Bart, can you say a few words?
Oh,
Councilman
sure.
Tunis, I'll tag you after Bart speaks. Go ahead.
Yes, well, thank you, Councilwoman Blackwell and the rest of the council and the mayor for considering me for this recognition. I feel even more honored seeing the company tonight that I'm receiving it with. I'd say if I've done anything to earn it, it's simply that I believe in Upper Darby. I can share an anecdote. About a week or so after I moved here in 2018, I attended a presentation on ideas for 69th Street. And I mentioned offhand that I moved here after considering I guess what I would call more well-known neighborhood in Philadelphia. And the person that I was talking to gave me a sort of quizzical look that kind of said, why? But I believe there's a lot going for Upper Darby and a lot more that's on the way. We're a diverse community that seems to be working towards being an equitable one. There's organizations that are working towards bringing new businesses to Upper Darby and kind of looking beyond just chain retail into building on what's unique here. The activism this past summer by UDTJ and other groups have kind of pushed for greater accountability for our public officials. And the new Underground Railroad tour is reconnecting the rich abolitionist history of Upper Darby to the region. And ideally, I think this will be the start of recentering Black history and experience in the township. So I just say, I think Upper Darby has a lot to be proud of. We're a unique collection of communities. We're a public transit hub. We're a proudly diverse place and a place that's on the way up. So I just thank you for this recognition, and I look forward to continuing to work together to building on an even better Upper Darby.
Great, Bart. Thank you so much. We really do appreciate you. And this award is so deserving of you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you, Bart. Thank you so much for all that you do. Councilman Tunis?
Yeah, I just wanted to say in reference to Mr. Evers, one of the things they discussed when we were thinking about bringing who to select for this award is just the work that you've really done, especially keeping residents involved, residents that may not follow me, Councilman Tunis, as an individual, or Councilwoman Billups or Councilman Sadiq, but making sure that residents still get that information and really pushing that out to the public and being an extension for us. That's something we really appreciate. And many of my constituents have referenced when they call me that they heard where they got this information coming from you. And that's something that I really appreciate. So I congratulate you and commend you on that.
Thank you, Councilman.
Great, awesome, thank you. Thank you so much to all the awardees. As I said, Councilwoman Billups will be signing the certificates in the near future when we can safely travel. And then hopefully next week we will arrange times for the committee to come out and give you the award officially. So thank you all to all of our awardees for all your amazing work in our community, and to the events committee for all the wonderful work they're doing, acknowledging and highlighting so many incredible people in our community and beyond. So thank you so much. All right, and so that's my report. Yay, that was awesome. Thank you, you guys are incredible. All right, so next up, we have committee reports. Finance and Appropriations Committee, co-chairs Gwynn and Silva, council members Blackwell and Burke. And we have Treasurer Heyman on this evening to give us our treasurer report. And then he also has a little training for us. So take it away, Treasurer Heyman. And I believe you need to be able to share your screen. So I did not get a chance to let Mr. Alberts know that in advance. So Mr. Alberts, if you can make him a co-host, there you go, you rock. All right, go ahead, take it away.
Thank you. I'll share the screen when I put my presentation up. All right, so report for February 2021. There's two parts to my report this evening, and first is a summary of our financial position, and then I'm going to do a little presentation that I hope everyone will find educational and enjoyable. This report summarizes the township's financial condition as of January 31st, 2020. We're going to look at it from a revenue and expense standpoint and also the ending cash balances with a performance comparison to January 2020. Our current financial structure includes a spending plan for 4 government funds: the general fund, the sewer fund, the highway fund, and the sinking fund. On January 31st, 2021, our operating funds cash position stood at $5,662,607. That includes the $5 million TRAN, that bridge loan that we're holding so that we don't run out of money. It doesn't look like we are, but just in case. So compared to that $5,662,607 cash balance at the end of January, December ended at $5,394,178. So we actually saw a cash increase in January of $268,178. From a revenue and expense perspective, January's revenues were $6,400,204. Expenses were $6,233,920. That is $166,284 revenue over expenses. Now, if you'll notice, there's a difference between the cash value, change in the cash value position and the revenue position of $101,894. And that's simply a matter of getting things recorded. Money came into the cash account that hadn't gotten recorded yet at the time we did this reconciliation. So that's all that is. And so that's our cash position. All right. Now, I thought it would be interesting to compare January 2021 with January 2020, just kind of give us a year over year look at this. And so I noted that our revenues represented about 6.97% of annual budget. In 2020, it represented 1.05% of budget. So that's a little interesting there. I want to take a little closer look at. January 2021 expenses represent about 6.8% of budget, while January 2020, the expenses represented 9% of budget. So that's somewhat of, I think a positive. I would look at that. And just to kind of give you a benchmark, so you can kind of wrap your head around these percentages, if we took 1 month out of the year, that would be 1/12. That's about 8.3%. That's what an average month would look like. So that we're 6.8% of expenses. That's it. That's reasonable. And even January's 9.11 2020 was reasonable around that 8% figure. So there's nothing unusual there. I did in my report attach the data behind the numbers. I'm giving you a summary in the report. There were 2 things that stood out that I'm going to ask for a little more clarification on that I didn't have a chance before I went over this stuff and kind of put my analysis together. There seem to be 2 line items that stick out, and one of them is a revenue item and another one's an expense item. There's a revenue item labeled other. Keep in mind, it's a summary budget here. It's not the line items, but there's an other, and it represents 122.31% of budget. And so I want to find out what that is. Could be a math error on my part. If there was a Hall of Fame for making math mistakes, I would be in it. So I have to make sure that that's not me. And if it's not, just find out why there's such an unusual number. And then the other one is in the expense side labeled general government expenses. Again, a summary line item representing 19.42% of its budget. So I just kind of want to get another clarification. Everything else seems to be pretty much in line with where we'd expect. And that concludes my summary of our financial position.
Great.
Okay, so let's go to the fun stuff. Share button. And here we go. Start the slideshow. Here we go. So today I want to talk about capital assets and how we fund I'm going to call it the big stuff we own. The township building, the fire trucks, the police cars, the hard assets that are owned by the township. Because we have some purchases coming up, pretty big purchases, and want to let our residents understand how we finance and pay for these things. So those are called capital assets. And then we're going to refer to capital as the money we use to purchase those capital assets. If we used a more formal definition of capital assets, it would be any fixed asset with a useful life of more than a year. So it's kind of similar to the cars we buy. We buy a car. It has a useful life of 5, and if you my car 12 years before we replace it. And so we do need to replace those capital assets periodically because, for example, maintaining an aging fire truck can cost more to repair than paying for a new one. Same thing with your car. It gets to a point with a car where you're putting more money into repairs than it would cost to go out and buy a new car. So you go out and buy a new car. And it's the same thing with our trucks and our cars. Aging equipment can also present a safety hazard to our first responders. So when necessary, we have to determine the most cost-efficient way to replace aging capital assets. And so I'm using, for example, this really pretty pictures of our engine 37 that was actually on the township website. And just as an aside, I was coming back from the township yesterday, and I saw engine number 37 out on a call, and I just got a personal kick out of that. Anyway, so the decision of how to buy the fire truck is the same that we make with purchasing the car. We've got 3 choices. We could borrow to buy the car, the fire truck, right? We call that financing. We could pay cash if we've got the cash on hand to do it without interfering with our cash flow or our budgeting. Or we could rent. We could lease the asset. So those are the 3 choices we make. Most of what we're going to do, though, is going to be about purchasing and a lot about financing. And so this discussion tonight is sort of the initial conversation so that you get the big picture of how this is done. So when we talk about making the purchases, we call it capital spending. And the plan to make those purchases is called the capital budget. So you hear me every month delivering a summary report on our operating budget. That's what I just delivered a few minutes ago. But we also have a capital budget. And we're going to start reporting on that capital budget also. It's not quite as interesting as the operating budget. There's not as much going on in there. But we do have some big capital outlays coming up and some big financing. And so we want everybody to understand how that's going to work. And most importantly, that it's no threat. It poses no threat to taxes or our budget, our ability to pay our bills. So we'll get to that in another month. But right now, I just want to give you lay the groundwork for how this stuff works. So when we're talking about financing the capital budget, normally we would go to the bank and borrow money, right, to buy our car. And for example, we actually do something like that. We just talked about the Tran loan, that $5 million temporary loan that we use to make sure we've got enough money to pay the bills. Well, we do go right to the bank and we borrow that money, and a few months later we pay that money back when we get our big hit property taxes collected. Then we'll be flush in cash that we can handle our bills for the rest of the year. So we don't need that loan anymore. We pay it back. But when you're talking about buying millions of dollars worth of fixed assets, it's not practical to borrow the money directly from the bank. It's actually less cost effective to go into what are called the capital markets. Now, you all know what a capital market is. You've all heard of the S&P 500 or the Dow, the stock market. That's a capital market. But there's also a bond market. We call it a fixed income market, where townships and governments go out and they borrow money. And they borrow money at a cost of capital. And the cost of capital is the interest. Interest is the fee that we get charged to borrow money. We're going to get a little bit more into what those fees are. We've already had a presentation late last year, I think it was November, where the folks from PNC came on and they kind of outlined a plan for us to do this the capital budget. So we've got some good numbers to show to you, and we're going to do that. But that's our cost of capital is the interest rate. That's what that is. So, and OPM is other people's money. I wanted to throw that in, right? So how do we obtain other people's money so that we can go out and get the things we need to run the township? Okay. So we we borrow money by issuing general obligation municipal bonds. On general obligation, there's different kinds of municipal bonds. We're a municipality, so the bonds we issue to borrow money are municipal bonds. General obligation simply means that they're backed by the taxing authority, the taxing power of the township, and that's how they're repaid. There's something like, well, there are other different types. If we created a stadium, let's say we created the Upper Darby Stadium, right, and we would charge fees for people to come in and use the stadium, that's a different type of municipal bond that we would float, and it would be paid for by the fees for the asset. But these are general obligation bonds. All right, so here's how it works. Our friends at PNC Bank, they create the bonds. They create the bonds for us, and they go out and they find the investors and they sell the bonds to investors. So maybe a mutual fund that invests in municipal bonds would like to buy these, very highly rated Upper Darby municipal bonds, these general obligation bonds. And so the mutual fund would go out there and buy those bonds. If you happen to own that mutual fund, then the dividends that are paid to you as an investor, that's where they come from. They come from when we pay our interest. So they issue the bonds, they sell them to the investors gives them money, then they put the money in our bank account, right? Our capital budget, we have a piggy bank. We talked about that in the last month about the ledgers and about the bank accounts that we have. Well, one of them is where this money comes in. And then what happens is we can buy the fire trucks. We go out there and buy engine number 37 or 38 or 39 or 40. We can go buy the trucks. So that's where the money comes from. That's the cash flow, how this whole thing starts out. We have to pay the bonds back, right? They are a loan. And so the bonds, every bond has a maturity date on it. And at that date, we pay back the amount we borrowed. And in the meantime, before the maturity date, we're making semi-annual or twice a year interest payments on the bonds. That's how it works. So the interest payments are our cost of capital, and then those interest payments become the return on investment for the bondholders. So it's a win-win. So I put this life of a municipal bond in here, right? So the bond is born in underwriting. PNC creates the bonds, they create the paper, the bond is born. And then it starts its life when it's sold to an investor. And during the life of that bond, prior to the maturity date, the investor is going to get paid twice a year. Okay, and that's when we pay our interest on that bond twice a year, corresponding to those payouts to the investors. Okay, and then at its maturity date, the bond is put to rest, it goes away, and no longer exists. Rest in peace, municipal bond. So how do we pay for the bonds? Well, here is our sinking fund again, right? Everyone remembers our sinking fund, the famous Upper Darby sinking fund. So what happens is property taxes come in. And as you know from the discussion last month, 63 mills of the property taxes collected of that 13.34, I sure hope I didn't get that wrong this time, that goes to the sinking fund. And it's going to represent this year, based upon our budget, it should represent somewhere around $2.6 million. And that goes into the sinking fund. And from the sinking fund, we make our interest payments and our final principal payments to retire the bonds when they mature. And then, of course, there's the investors out there getting paid for the money they've lent us. They get paid the money they've lent us. And so that's graphically how the whole cycle works. A note on debt service. You're going to hear this term debt service over and over again. It was all over the presentation PNC made for us. It's the language we use. So it's important to understand what debt service is. Debt service is the money we use to pay the bonds during the course of the year. So if we look at the 63 mills, we are going to put about that $2.6 million. We're going to put that over into the sinking fund, and it's going to sit there. And out of that so what that represents, if you look at it as the overall budget, remember, we have revenue coming from many different sources, not just property taxes, but it's only the property tax amount that gets put into the sinking fund. And so what this represents, the money in the sinking fund, it's about 2.9% of our budget. That's what that's going to represent. And again, I use the 2.2% interest rate, which was illustrated in the proposal by PNC. And that represents on $10 million, and we plan to borrow up to $30 million over the next 3 years. But that represents $220,000 a year of service or of interest in the first year that we borrow $10 million. And so we're putting 2.6 in, 220,000 is going to interest, and the rest accumulates in the sinking fund year over year. And what's happening is, as we get closer and closer, that money builds up as we get closer and closer to a maturity date on a bond, so that we can just write a check and pay that bond off when the time comes. So that's the way that works. Let's see here. So this is really going to, these last two things wrap up my little presentation here, but I just kind of want to tell you where we've been in our discussions and where we're going. So we started out with a discussion of millage. You probably all remember that, the old millage conversation and what that was about. And now you know that 0.63 of the 13.4 mils, 13.14 mils is going toward servicing the debt. We talked about how the township accounts, the finances are structured and managed with this fund accounting way that governments are managed, using fund accounts. And we have an operating budget and we have a capital budget. We have funds in those budgets that we manage to manage our money. Tonight was about how we actually raise the money to buy the fire trucks and the police cars, and it's about the municipal bonds. Now, next month, what I'd like to do is I'm going to take that capital budget and I'm going to kind of give you another graphical scenario of how those things will be paid down, assuming we borrow $30 million, that'll show you how that stuff is going to be paid down over the lifetime of those bonds. So then you'll have the complete picture of what's going on here. And I think it'll make it, when council talks about and they debate the budget and how much money we're going to borrow, you'll have a clear picture of what everybody's talking about. That's what I think is important, to make sure you understand what you're watching here as the council does its business. That is it. So I thank you very much for your time and open to questions. I'll give you your screen back too.
Awesome. Thank you very much. That was wonderful. Okay, great. So are there, actually, can we get a motion to approve the treasurer's report?
So moved.
Quinn and Sadiq? Are there any questions or concerns on anything that he shared with us this evening? Council members, if you can come back with your cameras so that I can see you. Raise your hand or turn on your mic to speak, because we're not all on the same screen. Okay, so any questions or concerns? All right, hearing none. Please turn your microphones on. All those in favor of approving the treasurer's report, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, say your name. Ayes have it. Thank you. Thank you very much, Treasurer Heyman, for all that fabulous information. Okay, so next up we have, Planning, Zoning, and Building Code Committee, co-chairs Gwynn and Billups, members Bonnet and Tunis Jr. We have a resolution 0721. At this point in time, I'm looking at the wrong agenda. Hold on, I'm sorry. Sorry about that. Should look at the right agenda. Solicitor Kilkenny, can you give us a summary on this resolution?
Sure, Madam President. This has obviously been discussed in several previous meetings. What I'm going to do is go through after the therefore be it resolved point as to what the particulars are to this resolution. Since this time, there have been, as was discussed, we've had several interactions, emails back and forth with the applicant, their engineer, our engineer, Mr. Galante, our planning department, the mayor, members of council and such. It's truly been a collaborative effort. So I'm going to go ahead and read the paragraphs. Paragraph 1, prior to recording the plan, applicant must address to the satisfaction of the township engineer the comments and conditions contained in January 4th, 2021 engineering review letter, to the extent such comments are not already addressed by the latest versions of the plan. 2, prior to the recording of the plan, applicant must address to the satisfaction of the township traffic engineer the comments and conditions contained in January 6th, 2021 Heinrich and Klein Associates traffic review letter, except to the extent any such comments are superseded by or inconsistent with the PennDOT highway occupancy permit dated August 31st, 2020 related to this property. 3, prior to recording the plan, applicant shall consider all applicable comments contained in the Delaware County Planning Department's letter dated January 22nd, 2021. 4, applicant shall comply with the Upper Darby Township Zoning Hearing Board's June 28th, 2018 and February 4th, 2021 decisions and all conditions imposed herein, and obtain any additional zoning relief and time extensions necessary prior to recording the plan. 5, applicant shall provide a gateway sign at the intersection of Township Line Road and State Road. Sign is subject to approval by the township engineer. 6, applicant shall provide no less than 4 electric vehicle charging stations. 7, applicant shall provide an adequate passive recreation area on the premises for the residents of the apartments. 8, applicant shall provide free access from Woodland Avenue and the adjacent property currently improved with apartments folio 1611-017605 to State Road. 9, applicant shall obtain any necessary approvals and reviews from the Delaware County Planning Department, DEP, PennDOT, or any necessary outside agency, and obtain any necessary planning modules, approvals, or permits before the plan is recorded. 10, applicant must complete all required easements and/or maintenance agreements or declarations, including but not limited to a stormwater management facilities operation and maintenance agreement in form satisfactory to the township engineer and township solicitor prior to recording the plan. Applicant will provide all necessary legal descriptions for any necessary easements. 11, a revised recordable plan shall ultimately be submitted to the township for administrative review and approval that addresses all requests for further plans, details, additions, corrections, and clarifications set forth in the above mentioned review letters. 12, prior to recording the plan, the applicant shall execute a land development and financial security agreement drafted by the township solicitor and post financial security in the form of a letter of credit or cash escrow to guarantee the installation of all public improvements associated with the property and amounts recorded recommended by the township. 13, all outstanding township fees, township engineering fees, and township legal fees, and any other professional fees associated with the review and approval of this application and plans shall be in full prior to the plan being recorded in accordance with Section 503 of the MPC. 14, the applicant shall bind the applicant and the applicant's successors. 15, the applicant shall comply with the terms of the stipulation and settlement entered into Delaware County Court of Common Pleas for the zoning docketed at 2018-5951. 16, new deeds for new lots must be approved for the township engineer and thereafter recorded contemporaneously with recording of plans. 17, if a condominium or other similar unit owner association is formed, the applicant shall submit the association declaration, any associated maintenance agreements or covenants to the township solicitor. 18, on December 9th, 2020, applicant was granted 9 waivers in the township subdivision land development ordinance during the township's approval of the preliminary plan for the project. These waivers are encompassed in this resolution and no additional waivers are requested for this plan. And then there is some catch-all language saying that they shall return this resolution signed within 7 days, and all the signature blocks of the council president, mayor, and associated township personnel. That concludes the summary of where we are with this revised resolution from our last meeting. I saw on this call, we had Mr. Schuster and Mr. D'Amico, and this resolution was presented to them, and they are in agreement with this resolution, and they are advising the applicant to sign, to my understanding.
Great, and I just wanted to give a thank you to all the presenters from the juxtaline development group, and also our township engineer, Mike Galante, for taking part in this call this evening. Before I ask council for a motion, I'm just wondering if there was any additional information you wanted to share with us. Just want to make sure we were, just wanted to throw that out to you. If there was anything that you wanted to share at this time, or we can move forward.
Thank you, Councilperson Wentz. Mark D'Amico on behalf of the applicant, and we have our whole team here at MCB, including co-counsel Ken Schuster, David Bramble, Dan Shabell, Drew Gorman, Frank Russo, the project architect, Roberto Espina, the project civil engineer, and Matt Hammond, the project traffic engineer. And we're prepared to answer any questions. And if I understand that this meeting's been long, and if you're satisfied with where we are, then we're happy to stay silent.
Okay, I just wanted to, I wanted to make sure the avenue is open for anything you wanted to add. So definitely, I greatly appreciate you being here and available to answer any questions that council may have. So thank you for that.
Yep, thank you. And just to confirm Mr. Kilkenny's comments, he has shared a draft of the resolution, and we made some comments which he graciously incorporated, and the resolution is in a format that's approved by the owner of the property.
Great, thank you so much. So at this point in time, council, can we get a motion to approve resolution 0721? I see Councilman Gwynn.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion.
And Sadiq. Gwynn and Sadiq. Okay, are there any questions or concerns from council members on Councilman? Okay, so I see Councilman Wagner and Bonnet and Burke. So Councilman Wagner, begin.
Thank you. Just briefly, I don't think this project is perfect. And if I wanted to, I could find reasons to criticize it. But I think that's probably true of almost any complicated project like this one. The fact is that I think this is extremely important to all of Upper Darby, particularly including the district that I represent, the third, but it's not limited to that. I think it's important to the entire community that we pass this resolution, approve this project, and vastly improve the wasteland that Drexel that the whole property is right now. So I urge everybody on council to just come together and pass this. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Bonnet.
Thank you, Madam President. I agree that this is an extremely important.
Councilman Bonnet,
probably the most important currently in Upper Darby, and it will remain that probably for the next. Very disappointed in the addition of the extra 48 apartment units, particularly at the expense of eliminating a major restaurant and some additional commercial space. This was originally intended to be a town center. It's nowhere near a town center by definition currently. It's a commercial center. It remains a shopping center for the most part, in that it will have a supermarket, much needed to be improved, as a matter of fact, a Wawa, a storage building, which has been very controversial over the years, and a pad site, of course, among 190, what will now be 190 apartment units. I don't think we gave due consideration to the impact that will have on our school district population, be that as it may. We can, however, allow the deteriorated conditions to remain any longer. We need to move this project forward. And I say that in spite of all my disappointment in the addition of the additional apartment units. It does have to move forward. We can't allow the conditions that are there currently to remain. It's an insult to the citizens of Upper Darby Township to have to withstand the appearance of that place. And I know that this is a transitional condition. This is not uncommon to experience these kinds of conditions in the interest of progress. And I know that we will hopefully within the next, hopefully by the end of the spring, at least, see some progress in terms of activity on site. And I think from what was discussed in earlier meetings, that sounds like it is at least the goal, recognizing there are other approvals outside of township approvals that must be obtained by the developer. And that's no small task to accomplish those, acquiring those approvals. But I do believe that they're well underway, and I'm very confident that they will fall into place in the near term. Having said that, I too am going to support the project. I will vote in favor of it, and I also, for the reasons that I've stated, to move this project ahead, I encourage everybody to do the same.
Great, thank you. Councilman Bynett, just so you know, some of your sound was not as clear, but we heard the 95% of your point that you were trying to get across. So I just wanted to let you know that. You were freezing a little bit while you were speaking. Okay, so next up we have Councilman Burke, and then Silva, and then Gwen at the moment. So Councilman Burke.
Thank you, President Lynch. Just a couple quick questions. On note 9, how are we timeline on obtaining everything from DEP PennDOT? We really didn't have an answer the last time it was in progress. Demolition date, do we have a date on that? And this is all private money, correct? No government assisted money for this development, is that correct?
Whoever would like to answer it, go ahead.
This is Dan Shaybell with MCB. Councilman Burke, we're in process. We have several permits that we're still in process of obtaining. We have an NPDS permit that right now is under review. They're reviewing the stormwater and soil erosion. We are in for a joint 105 permit with DEP. That basically, I think we have most of the items in, but we still need the stormwater component of the NPDS and our FEMA approvals, permits. We are in with FEMA. We're having discussions with them. We've gone back and forth with their reviewer. We're hoping we're towards the end of that review process. Township engineer Galante has been, extraordinarily helpful to us with the sewer. We need what's called a 537 permit, and it's typically, oftentimes, it's a sequential process with various legs, such as the DCJA, Delcora, Philadelphia Water Company, and we've been trying to expedite that process. There's only so much speed that we can do, but we've been able to request, and we've been told that DEP is making this a priority project. So we're doing everything we can to try and make that April date, but there are some conditions beyond our control.
And the last question, I don't believe you answered. Is this all private money or government money to the development?
we do not have any public money at this point involved in financing the project.
So if there was public money, then technically the 190 apartments wouldn't be fair market value, correct?
No, the only public money that we were seeking was business in our sites, which had to do with the site work. But we did not qualify for that. We have some RCAP money, but because of the various costs involved with taking the RCAP money, it didn't reach a critical mass where we have not accepted that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, great. And then, Councilman Silva is next.
Thank you, Council
He got his,
President.
he broke his toenail back.
Danielle,
Poor
please mute yourself.
I muted. Okay, sorry.
You are now. Okay, go ahead, Councilman Silva.
Thank you, Council President. I just wanted to also want to agree with my colleagues that I also urge my fellow council members to pass this. I appreciate MTV patience and adaptability through this whole process. This is an important project, like they have brought up, and we would like to see a resolution to this property, but we want to make sure it's the right resolution, and I really feel like we're on the right track with that. So I did want to say thank you for your patience, and again, you're working with us on this like you have been. So that's all, and I do urge my fellow council members to help pass this tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. And Councilman Gwynn?
Thank you. I just want to say thank you to the administration and thank you to the owners of this property for their time and effort. And Mike Galante, you've done a heck of a job in bringing everything up to speed. And this document, this resolution is an in-process thing. It's not finalized, but it's the best we have as at this point in time. And Mike is working to make sure the rest of things go right. I vote for this and request everybody else to consider doing the same. Thank you. Good night.
Great, thank you. Anyone else from council? Okay, seeing none, I just wanted to say that I greatly appreciate all the work that Mayor Keffer, CAO Rongioni, our engineer Galante has done to take the project from what it was a few years ago to a far more green project, working with the development company. You guys have done a great job taking in all the comments and thoughts and concerns that were brought to you and adjusting in, molding it into this project. And so I want to thank you as well for all that you've done. It's quite a difference. Yes, it's not perfect. It's not exactly what anyone ever wanted, but it's, from my perspective, 100 times better than what it was before. And I greatly appreciate everyone who has worked on it and everything that you've done to improve it. And that whole teamwork thing, greatly appreciate it. So it seems like everyone is all good to go at this point in time. So at this point in time, could we, it's a little unusual because it's a resolution, but Councilwoman Billups, can you give us a roll call vote on this motion, on this resolution? My cat knocked over all my papers, so I'm looking for my track sheet. There we go. Okay, so.
Do we need to move the motion?
We did. Thank you very much. You moved it, and
There was a motion and a second.
Yeah. So at this point in time, because I do know what I'm doing, I would like Councilwoman Billups to give us a roll call vote, because I think it's very important for us to have a specific roll call vote on this land development. Take it away, Ms. Billups.
Thank you. Councilman Tunis?
Yes.
Councilwoman Billups is a yes. Councilman Silva,
Yes.
Councilwoman Blackwell,
I muted you, Councilwoman Blackwell, so,
I said yes.
okay, I didn't hear you.
Councilman Gwynn,
Yes.
Councilman Burke,
Yes.
Councilman Siddiq,
Approved.
Councilwoman Faralia,
Yes.
Councilman Barnett,
Yes.
Councilman Wagner,
Yes.
and Council President Wentz.
Yes.
Okay, it's unanimous.
Thank you, everyone, for the for approving this resolution, because my dyslexia is kicking in. So thank you to the development company for all that you planning committee for everything that you did on this and coming and speaking with us in as many meetings that you did. We greatly appreciate you and all your presentations.
Could I
yes.
just say, Councilman Wentz, that we want to sincerely thank you. This was a long and difficult process, but we really appreciate the collaborative efforts that the council, the mayor, the CAO, your engineer, you really decided to grab hold of this and provide input and make it happen. And that doesn't always happen. And we really appreciate it. And we thank you for your support, and we're raring to go. Thank you all very much.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you. We're looking forward to it. Great. All right. So now we are moving on to resolution 0821. If Solicitor Richardson can give us a brief on this resolution.
Thank you, President Wentz. This is a resolution of Upper Darby Township granting final land development plan approval to Southeastern Pennsylvania Transportation Authority, SEPTA, for Sea King Station parking lot at 325 North Avenue. Now, there are several whereas clauses. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Upper Darby Township Council that the plan is hereby granted conditional final land development approval subject to the satisfaction of the following conditions. Number one, prior to recording the plan, applicant must address to the best of its abilities the comments and conditions contained in the November 19, 2020 MG Engineering Review Letter. Number two, prior to recording the plan, applicant shall address to the best of its ability all applicable comments contained in the May 21st, 2020 Delaware County Planning Department Review Letter to the satisfaction of the Township Engineer. Number three, prior to recording the plan, applicant must address to the best of its ability the comments and conditions contained in the November 17th, 2020 Albert Frederico Consulting LLC Traffic Review Letter. Number four, applicant shall comply with the Upper Darby Township Zoning Hearing Board's December 17, 2020 decision and all conditions imposed therein, and obtain any additional zoning relief and time extensions necessary to provide prior to recording the plan. Applicant number five, applicant must obtain any necessary approvals and reviews from the Township Engineer, Township Traffic Engineer, Delaware County Planning Department, Pennsylvania DEP, PennDOT, or any other necessary outside agency, and obtain any necessary planning modules, approvals, or permits before the plan is recorded. Number six, applicant must complete all required easements and or maintenance agreements or declarations, including but not limited to stormwater management, facilities operation, and maintenance agreement in form satisfactory to the Township Engineer and Township Solicitor prior to recording the plan. Applicant will provide all necessary legal descriptions for any necessary easements. 7, a revised recordable plan shall ultimately be submitted for a township administrative review and approval that addresses all requests for further plan details, additions, corrections, and clarifications set forth in the above mentioned review letters. Number 8, prior to recording the plan, applicant shall execute a land development agreement drafted by the township solicitor and post financial security in the form of a letter bond. 9, all reasonable outstanding township fees, township engineering fees, and township legal fees, and any other professional fees associated with the review and approval of the application and plan shall be paid in full before the plan is recorded in accordance with Section 510 of the Pennsylvania Municipalities Planning Code. There are waivers. The following requested waivers from the Township's subdivision and land development ordinance and stormwater ordinance are hereby either approved or denied as indicated. Number 1, sections 3 303 and 304 for relief, submitting a separate submission for preliminary approval prior to plan approval. Number 2, Section 805A7 for relief to permit the driveway onto North Bishop Road to intersect the street opposite a through street Seacane Road. Section 405 for relief related to groundwater recharge on the property as the infiltration on the site is limited and minimum infiltration requirement has not been met, but applicant will promote infiltration and develop and reduce stormwater runoff by adding a MRC basin, landscaping, or another means to reduce stormwater runoff volume and promote infiltration. Section number 4, Section 816A5 for relief from the tree replacement regulations requiring each tree to be removed with a caliper greater than 12 inches when measured at a height of 36 inches from the ground due to limiting planting on site, but instead have the applicant purchase trees reasonably equivalent to the trees removed pursuant to the standards of Table 8-5 of 816A5 and donated to the township for off-site planning at locations desired by the township. There's language regarding the binding of the resolution on the applicant and the necessary signatures. So in this reading.
Great.
Good
Thank
evening.
you. Thank you very much. Just wanted to welcome the members of SEPTA's Planning Committee for this land development. So please take it away. If there's anything you wanted to add, go ahead. Mr.
Well, good evening. My name's Tom Musey. I'm here on behalf of SEPTA. To say our whole team is here. So any questions that may arise, we're happy to provide such. I'm outside counsel for SEPTA. And as a starter to this discussion, I've been on this meeting all night, and the award ceremony earlier was just delightful. It was a really nice thing, and I appreciate such. As the mayor recognized, she talked about approving these plans because it's investing in us. And investing in us is from SEPTA's perspective is Upper Darby and SEPTA as a family, and it's us. And we've done improvements on Victory Avenue, on 69th Street, and Seacane, that with the new train station in Primos. We've really put a lot of dedication, and the team on this call is part of such. So we've worked as teammates with regard to this, with the engineers, and from our side and from your side with the solicitor, and obviously through the Delaware County Planning Commission, through your zoning board, and we've put our diligent efforts into presenting this resolution to the board. It was also interesting, and I would just briefly state one of your awardees tonight talked about Upper Darby being a public transportation hub, and that's truly what it's become, and it's becoming even better and better. So that's where we are. We have this resolution. We worked diligently with all your folks, and I ask for your approval and endorsement.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Okay, so at this point in time, can we get a motion to approve resolution 80821? Councilman Quinn and Lisa, Councilwoman Faralia, did you want to second it? I saw your hand. Thank you. Quinn and Faralia. Great. Are there any questions or concerns? Councilman Gwynn, I see.
Yes, shall we go through and the individual sections as it requires approval of them first?
The waivers,
Yes.
I believe were approved before. Have the waivers been approved, or have they not yet been approved? Solicitor Richardson, sorry.
No.
No, I don't believe so.
We have no, okay.
No.
So do we have to do them individually, or?
It's at the pleasure of council. Their waivers can be done all at once, or you can do it one by one.
So yeah, normally just see if One of the ways to do it is see if any council member has any objections or questions about any of the waivers, then maybe turn to Mr. Galante, see if he can comment on that, and maybe he can dispense of them all at once.
Okay. Okay, so do any council members have any questions or concerns on any of these waivers?
No.
Councilman Gwynn?
I do not directly. I am dependent upon Mike Galante's experience in a lot of this area.
So, Mike Galante, can you give us a little what your thoughts are on these waivers?
Yeah, so just an FYI, the waivers were discussed at the previous meeting, but I can run down them and just give a quick overview. And SEPTA's engineers are here too as well. If they want to add on anything, I'm more than welcome. But the first waiver was for preliminary final land development approval. The reason we didn't vote on the waivers in this, the reason the waivers weren't voted on already is because with juxtaline, they went through preliminary, then final. So in this case, we have a preliminary final approval, and that is a waiver they're requesting as part of this project. So they're submitting their preliminary and final as one application, which is typical. We did it differently with juxtaline because it was a bigger project, but with this project, I don't take any exceptions. The second waiver is for, I believe it was for ground, the positioning of the driveway. The reason the driveway has to be offset is due to the railroad tracks and for site distance, and the applicant provided a waiver letter and they can discuss more about that. The third waiver is for the MRC basin, managed release basin, and this is guidance provided by DEP. When you have a site that doesn't provide good infiltration for stormwater, they were unable to meet our groundwater recharge requirements, which means there's a certain amount of volume of stormwater that they have to recharge with the development. So in order to meet the requirements, they had to do a managed release basin, and that thus they would need a waiver because they couldn't meet the groundwater recharge requirements by a natural means. So the managed release concepts allows them to meet the DEP requirements and thus conform to our stormwater ordinance. However, it is still a waiver. And the fourth waiver is for tree replacement. And I think the applicants agreed to a reasonable amount of tree replacement as part of the project. Essentially, as part of the construction of the lot, there will be various size trees that will be removed. And I believe the applicant has agreed as part of the resolution to plant trees, may not be on site, but at other areas within the township, work with myself and other entities within the township to meet that requirement. And they're essentially the waivers. And if the applicant's team wants to add anything to that, feel free.
So does anyone like to add anything to the waivers?
I don't have anything to add. I believe we've worked with your folks, and everyone's in communication. And you look at the whereas clauses, we still have work and communication that will be continuing.
Okay, great. So council members are.
So, Council President, so I would just suggest that the council wanted to do a motion to approve all the waivers and the resolution.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
So, great. So I'd like to amend my motion request to the resolution and the waivers included. So the motion originally was made by Councilman Gwynn and seconded by Faralia. Do you guys still uphold the motion in the second?
Yes, for me.
Councilwoman Faralia, you're muted.
Yes.
Great. Okay, so now that it's been moved and seconded for the resolution and the waivers, are there any questions and concerns from council? I'm seeing none. All right, great. I just, thank you for all the work that you've put into this plan and the inclusion of the trees and the stormwater management, that's really important. So I appreciate all that work. And Councilman Silva has snuck in. Go for it.
Thank you, Council President. I don't know if it's necessarily in the confines of this resolution, but wonder if there's any thought to possibly enhancing some of the crosswalks there. I know that's can be a treacherous intersection for pedestrians, particularly those the people that would be using the train. Hopefully, I was wondering if, and I'm sure that would also probably have to be conducted with PennDOT as well, as Providence Road, be my understanding. But it just wondering if that's something that could be considered as maybe an improvement to both the intersection or the pedestrian crosswalk at Providence, and possibly something similar for North Avenue as well.
Well, I can only speak to the multimodal grant that we're applying for, which has to do with Bishop Avenue and Providence Road. North Avenue, I'm not sure if that's included in that, but we and SEPTA and PennDOT recognize that these are areas that need to be improved, but that's not directly involved in this land development plan. But we are working on it.
Thank you. Anything else?
I can note a fact about North Avenue and Providence, if you'd like.
Please.
The applicant has agreed to do a traffic study and some concept plans and work with us on grants with PennDOT to improve that intersection. I believe that's part of the resolution. Yes. Good.
Great. Awesome. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, great. So at this point in time,
roll call.
Councilman Gwynn, can you just let me do that part of the role of the job? Because every time I'm about to do it, you're jumping the gun. Okay. Thank you. So at this point in time, Councilwoman Billups, we are going to do a roll call vote. So go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Tunis?
Yes.
Councilwoman Billups is a yes. Councilman Silva?
Yes.
Councilwoman Blackwell?
Yes.
Councilman Gwynn?
Yes.
Councilman Burke?
Yes.
Councilman Siddiq?
Approved.
Councilwoman Faralia?
Yes.
Councilman Barnett?
Yes.
And I understand, and
just,
Councilwoman, excuse me?
Yes, go ahead. Just ask.
Councilwoman.
Councilman Wagner abstained from the vote, correct?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Correct.
So
I abstain.
per the PEA Ethics Act, you should send an email to the Secretary of Council just informing them why you abstain. Thank you.
I'll be glad to state it if you want me to.
Oh, no, you don't need to state it. I'm just telling you what the legal requirement is. That's fine. It's up to you.
Thank you. Who's the email go to?
The secretary, so it would be, you can send it to Alexis.
Send it to Alexis. Fine.
Yep.
Will do. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. And Council President Wentz?
Yes. Thank you. So that's
saying yes and one abstain.
Great. Thank you very much. So thank you to SEPTA and all of the planning committee, and to Mayor and CAO and our solicitors and Engineer Galante for all your hard work on this project. Greatly appreciate it, and go forth and make it beautiful.
If I may, just for 1
Please.
second, I felt inappropriate to say this prior to your vote, but as I said when we started this out, I was really touched by your award ceremony tonight, and especially this Gloria Evans really touched my heart tonight. So I on behalf of my family, for whatever she chooses, I'll give $1,000 to a charity of her choosing. So she touched my heart tonight, and it was. I think she's a wonderful woman. So if you could extend that to whoever's appropriate, and just let me know who I need to write a check to. Thank you.
We'll make sure that Councilwoman Billups connects with you. She's our connection to Miss Gloria. Who's
Okay.
amazing. So definitely. Thank you so
Sounds
much.
good. Have a
You're
great night,
welcome.
everyone. God bless.
Thank you.
With you.
Thank you, you too.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. All right. So next up, we have Municipal Services Licensing and Public Works Committee, co-chairs Sadiq and Tunis Jr. and council members Wagner and Burke. We have resolution 0921. Can we get a reading of this resolution from Solicitor Kilkenny?
Let me unmute myself and hold on a second, pull it up. Okay, I found it. All right, a resolution of the Township of Upper Darby, Delaware County, authorizing applications to the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation for traffic design improvements for the Fern Boulevard and Berman Road intersection. Sorry, my dog's very excited. Be it resolved by the authority of Upper Darby Council and is hereby resolved by the authority of same, that Vince Rangione, Chief Administrative Officer of Upper Darby Township, is authorized and directed to submit the attached applications for traffic signal approval to the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation, adopted and resolved this day in council chambers. That concludes my reading.
Great, thank you. Can we get a motion to approve resolution 0921?
Like to make a motion to.
Sadiq, and second?
So moved.
Okay, Blackwell? Are there any questions or concerns on this resolution? Councilman Bonnet?
Thank you. Just a question. I mean, obviously the word improvement is a positive. What are we proposing to do there?
CAO Rangione?
I'm sorry. I think this is the traffic light improvements.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. So it's a regular PennDOT update on timing where we just we're just approving the PennDOT changes to the sequence of the light.
And probably new control mechanism and et cetera.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
It's a
right,
continuation of the resolutions that we've done throughout last year in different intersections throughout the year. So it's continuing the same project. Any other questions or concerns? All right, seeing none. All those in favor of resolution 0921, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, say your name. Ayes have it. Thank you very much. Okay, next up, we have resolution 10-21. If we can get Solicitor Richardson to give us a reading of this resolution.
Sure. Thank you, President Wentz. This is Resolution 10-21, whereas the undersigned municipality desires to take advantage of the Act approved June 1st, 1954, and as provided in the Act approved May 18th, 1945, permitting counties of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania to appropriate and expend monies for the improvement and maintenance of state highways and state aid highways or any public highway in the county of the Commonwealth. Therefore, be it resolved that we, the officials of Upper Darby Township, Delaware County, Pennsylvania, in regular session assembled on this 17th day of February 2021, do hereby make application to the County Council of Delaware County for an allocation of county liquid fuel tax funds in the amount of $89,168 to be used in the improvement of resurfacing various streets throughout the township. Estimated total cost of $89,168. It's certified by the municipality and the officers who execute this application that all materials used and work done hereunder shall conform to the current Pennsylvania Department of Transportation specifications or specifications approved by the department, and that all work will be done within the legal right of way with permission of the abutting property owners. So ends the reading.
Great, thank you very much. Can we get a motion to approve resolution 1021?
So moved.
Silva and Gwynn? Okay, are there any questions or concerns on this resolution? Councilwoman Phillips?
So, thank you, Council President Wentz. Do we have the streets already laid out?
This isn't a.
It's going to be resurfaced?
CAO or, oh, there you are. I'm sorry. Or Mike Galante, whoever wants to weigh in.
Yes, we have a planned paving program.
Okay.
Yeah, this will be applied to the paving program that's going to start early March.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Did council get a list of those streets that are part of the planned program? Just so we have the heads up.
Sure.
When we get questions, that would be great. Thank you. Okay, so then I see Councilman Siddiq, Councilwoman Blackwell, Councilman Gwynn. So go ahead, Councilman Siddiq.
I'd like to ask if there's any street on District 6 is in the list, which going to be improved on next March.
Yeah. So I have a map that I prepared, and I believe it should be circulated to council. What I could do is I will recirculate it again and make sure you get a copy. I don't know the exact streets that are getting done, but I believe there are some streets in District 6. But I don't have the exact list. No, I have the list right in front of me right now.
No problem. Thank you.
Okay. Councilwoman Blackwell?
Just for the year, I'm not sure. It was a year mentioned. Was it 1945? And what did that reference to? Just need to make sure I have the right year for my records.
So
Or
no,
for the constituents.
just for clarification, Council.
Yes.
Blackwell.
Thank you.
This is the enabling statute that was, normally I wouldn't have read it, but I apologize that I did, but it's just the enabling statute that actually.
No, you don't have to apologize. I'm sorry. I just heard.
It's in the top of the resolution.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ms. Blackwell, you can get the information from the resolution itself. The date is in the resolution.
Gotcha. Thank you. I just had to make sure.
Yeah. So does that clarify that it's the enabling?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Council and President Wentz.
Definitely. Thank you. And Councilman Gwynn?
Yes. Let's make sure I'm free. Yes. I just wanted to bring out and make sure it's clear to everybody. This is a portion of the monies that will come in to pave the things. That won't cover a great deal of territory with the $89,000. We also have a lot that's going to be from Pico and Aqua, as they have to repave the roads where they have done work on. And this is for the rest of it, or help toward the rest of it.
Okay. Good point. Thank you. Okay, any other questions and concerns? All right, seeing none. All those in favor of resolution 1021, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, say your name. Ayes have it. Thank you. All right. All right, searching. All right, great. So next up, we have a report from our solicitors. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you so much, Council President Wentz. We have been working on various assignments as set forth by the mayor and the administration. As you know, we've been working tirelessly on juxtaline and on C. Kane for the land development. In addition to the land developments that we've been working on, we have been also working on St. Eugene's, and it seems that we're at least able to come full circle with we've just received the title report, and we're still waiting for the appraisal with the new dimensions that were set forth. So that's, and then we also are dealing with with various right to knows. And so that's where we are at this point. Sean, I didn't know if you wanted to add anything.
Nope, you got it. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. So next up is old business. Anyone have any old business to share with us? I see Councilwoman Faralia. Go ahead.
As we're all aware, I brought up the Thompson track on 2 previous occasions and have not really received an answer to my request. I'm requesting that council supports the Rose Lawn Civic Association opposition to the development of 240 apartments. I further request that the township solicitor appear at the zoning hearing and provide the necessary entrance to appearance in opposition to the application.
So, I mean, since it's not technically before us, there's nothing for us to vote on, but if any council members want to talk about your thoughts in reference to the Thompson track, we've had a variety of residents who have made public comments in our last couple of meetings, at least on this. I think actually maybe the last 3 meetings we've had on this. So, you know, so at this point in time, I think it's a good, even though it's not before us to make any decisions on, I think it's worthwhile for us to talk about what our thoughts are. So Councilman Silva?
Sure, absolutely. Thank you, Council President. And my question is this, hypothetically, if council did have issue with this zoning or with any zoning request, wouldn't it be possible for us to become party of the opposition to that request? You know, as we saw recently in the zoning meeting I attended, where the boroughs of Lansdowne and Yaden were both party to opposition to a request. And I don't, how would Upper Darby Township Council go about doing that? What's the hypothetical, what would be the procedure?
So, Councilman Silva, my role is a little unique in that I represent both the administration and council, actually. If council wanted me to, our office, the solicitor's office, to support the application, oppose the application, or anything related to that, council can make a motion on behalf of council to send our office to oppose, or any other council member could show up at the public hearing and state their views as an individual council member. But just be clear, they're staying as an individual council member, not on behalf of all of council.
Okay. Any other questions or concerns, Councilman Silva? Okay.
So we would need to pass like a motion basically in order to have the council be a party to either for or against the zoning request.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Any other questions or concerns or want to express thoughts? Councilman Burke?
Yes, thank you, President Wentz. Can we do that at this present time or no?
Yes, you can make that motion at any public meeting.
Mayor Keffer, do you have any thoughts on this land development or, you know, this proposed project?
Well, my thoughts are, I think the neighbors are very organized and they have their own solicitor, from what I understand. And I wasn't going to send our solicitor to represent the administration against it. The zoning hearing board is pretty independent. I think you can tell by watching the last few zoning hearing board meetings. And yeah, I don't know. It's a big you know, the developer's asking for a lot, and I'm not sure that we have to weigh in on that, but that's how I feel. I just feel like I wouldn't ask. I'm not going to ask Sean Kilkenny's firm to weigh in on behalf of the administration against or for it. So.
Okay, anyone else? Councilman Burke, I saw you, Councilman Wagner. I just want to check if Councilman Burke was complete.
Yes, Mayor, thank you for that answer. The solicitor not either way for the administration, but I'd like to make a motion right now that our solicitor represents council if council approves the solicitor supporting council to against this RC zoning.
I'll second that.
Hold on, let me get my paperwork real. So, motion for solicitor to represent council to oppose the
Thompson truck.
the apartments. Sorry, just writing it down. Those apartments. Okay, and that was seconded by, so made by Burke and seconded by Wagner. Okay, Councilman Tunis, you had a question or concern?
Yes, so what we're voting on would be, so the solicitor would represent all council members opposing this?
Correct. That is the motion on the floor.
I would represent, if a majority of council votes to send me to oppose, I would request party status as council, for council, and then put on a, cross-examine their witnesses, put on a case on behalf of council in opposition. And it would be, if that's a majority vote of council to do so. So I'd be representing council as a whole's position. Like I said, it's a little awkward in the sense that the mayor has chosen to stay out of this. The mayor is not supporting it, so I'm not in a direct conflict situation. So I can, I represent obviously both. I represent council and I represent the mayor. So I can represent council's interests in front of the zoning hearing board.
So shouldn't you be representing the protect the ordinance to keep it RC?
Well, I will oppose the application. If you send by a majority vote, I'm going to get up there and say council opposes the application and cross-examine their witnesses and say the council does not want zoning relief, and put on a case against it. That's what I'll do.
Okay. Any other questions or concerns? Councilman Wagner?
Yeah, I simply wanted to note that we had an awful lot of public comment in the beginning of this meeting. I believe anyway, others can call it differently, but I believe the overwhelming majority of it was negative to this project and this zoning application, and I don't think we can just ignore that. That's the reason why I would support such a resolution. I don't have any idea how the rest of council feels about it, but I think it's something we should discuss and come to a conclusion about.
None out of all the public comments, no one supported the building of the apartments. There was at least 14 people who spoke against it at this meeting as far as the public comment. And I believe there was, hold on, just checking my notes, but I believe it was also a large number of residents in, I think, the last couple of meetings that spoke out against the the apartments at the Thompson track. Sorry, for some reason, I'm not finding it quickly in my notes from last meeting.
15 out of 22, Laura.
From last time?
Yes,
Yeah.
on 127, 15 out of 22 spoke against it.
Can I ask, like, why we have to have a vote on that when previously we never did? We just, if we requested the solicitor to go, they went. Like, we never had a vote.
Because we probably should have had a vote, and it's.
You should have a vote. Other bodies, when they send me to oppose an application, they take a vote and then it's clear.
Right, and there's no discrepancies on it.
CA
Rungia.
Yeah, sure. Or if the council people want to go first, that's okay. Whatever's appropriate.
Okay. Councilman Wagner, were you done?
Yes.
Okay, great. And then Councilman Tunis, you're on. Hold on a second. Councilman Gwynn. Go ahead. You got to unmute yourself.
Keep on muting me. I just wish to point out that this is coming up on the zoning hearing board on Thursday, February 25th.
Right. Great. Councilman Tunis. You can unmute yourself.
Yeah, I was just another question about the representation. So we have to be sworn in as parties at the hearing meeting, if it's majority voted in.
If a majority votes to send me, I will request party status. I'll send an email to Mr. Amuso, and they'll recognize me. They'll recognize council as a party. Yes. And I'll have to be very clear that I'm not representing the administration. I'm representing council very specifically, if that's what council wants to do.
Okay. Any other questions or concerns? So I just want to say from what I've heard from all the residents, I personally have not had a chance to go check out the space. I am greatly concerned about the fact that there's a wildlife preserve there, and the water management and the traffic concerns in that area, outside of the fact that we've heard on multiple realms about the concerns of our overpopulated school district as it is, and from my communication with school board directors, that the current plans of renovations and expansions of the school district is predominantly for the children already in our school district and not an additional potential 240 apartments that could bring in substantial more kids. So I just found those things very pertinent. And so I see Councilman Silva and CAO Rangione. So Silva, go ahead.
Thank you, Council President. I am very familiar with that area, and I do not agree with this application. I think that it would adversely affect the quality of life, and plus, you know, the neighbors there had an expectation when they lived in an area that was zoned a certain way that it would be that way, and it seems wrong now to completely counteract it. But on the other hand, I do not agree with the notion of us sending our solicitor to. I mean, I was asking a question hypothetically and actually meant that, but it was. But I do not agree with the process of sending our solicitor to weigh in on the zoning hearing, because I feel like I just feel like it goes against the process the way it stands. I do plan to attend that hearing and make my concerns heard, as I'm sure many other people will. But I just want to say at this time, I'm against the idea of us sending our counsel to be his party against the application.
Thank you. CAO?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. I'm glad Councilman Silva got to speak there and say his piece, because that was one of the things that I wanted to make sure council understood before they voted. The zoning hearing board is a quasi-judicial independent body, and it sets a dangerous precedent to not allow an applicant an open and fair hearing before that body. The chance that the administration and or the council would unfairly prejudice a presentation before that quasi-judicial body sets a bad precedent for developers who would want to invest in Upper Darby. And so I think in fairness, a lot of the concerns that have been expressed may very well be accurate, whether they're about traffic or school districts or what have you. But to prejudge the matter without seeing the presentation, I think would set a very bad precedent. I think every applicant deserves a fair hearing before the zoning hearing board. And to be clear, nobody on this call or in this meeting has had a chance to fully examine the presentation, the application, the matter. So I just want to caution against a rush to judgment and a sort of misapplication of township resources by sending our solicitor to do something that we're not 100% sure about. In terms of other just slight details, I do want to point out right now it's open land, but it is not in any way open space. It's zoned for development and it's privately owned land. So it is not protected land. It is not preserved land in any material fashion. It could be developed at any point by the private landowner. The variance is simply a proposal by a prospective buyer. The Dwight City Group doesn't own the land, and they are not going to purchase the land without the variance. So it's their assessment and their assessment alone that single family development is not cost effective. They might be right, they might be wrong, they might just have a different business model than other people. But it's important to note that right now, every minute, the land is in danger of being developed. It is zoned for development. It is privately owned land, and it could be developed at any moment by that private landowner. So I do think there are some people on this call and some other people in the public who are purposely spreading false information about the property in order to rile up the neighbors and create a false impression. So I just wanted to make sure that council and the public was in possession of those facts before the decision got made.
Thank you for those clarifications. So they have mentioned a wildlife preserve. Is there actually a official wildlife preserve there, or is it just that space, because it's not developed, kind of turned into a natural preserve?
Yeah, exactly. It's just because it's currently undeveloped, but there's no formal designation of any kind. And I don't want to help either side make their case, but I would actually point out that the most sort of precious or endangered thing on the property is actually the American chestnut trees. What's kind of remarkable about the property is the chestnut trees. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I love foxes and deer and squirrels as much as the next guy, but the reality of what's precious on that property that literally no one has mentioned in their public comments or elsewhere is the near extinct chestnut trees that are on that property. So, take that for whatever it's worth in terms of people's genuine interest in the land.
Thank you for that clarification.
Sure.
Councilman Wagner?
Yeah, I am confused to say the least. I just heard our CAO say that he thinks there are people on this call who are intentionally spreading false information or something. I just don't know why it's necessary to degenerate our discussion to that kind of a level. It's just not necessary. You have to be talking about council people because I think that's all we've got left on this call that I'm aware of, or who can speak anyway. I, for one, am simply concerned about the large amount of public opposition that's been expressed to us. And I don't think there's anything wrong with having our solicitor go to the zoning hearing to make that position known. It's one of the things that the zoning hearing board would then consider among all the other evidence that it receives. I don't think there's anything prejudicial about that. I think our solicitor did that in the case of the Juxtaline project. Why now suddenly it's become something wrongful, I can't imagine. But in any event, what I don't think we should do is ignore the very significant amount of public comment that we've had on the negative side of this. Maybe it needs more discussion here. I'm not sure, but there's a lot of public comment that was very negative about this, and I don't think we should let those people think that we don't care what they think or that we're ignoring them. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. And Councilman Wagner, I have to, I don't think anyone's ignoring them, and I have to say that at least the last couple of meetings, I know that I had mentioned that, you know, all of their concerns were valid and that they needed to send them to the public, to the zoning board, so that they could hear it directly from them.
Fair enough. I get that.
Anything in front of us directly as council. So I just want to, you know, I think their concerns are very valid, and zoning board is really the best place to hear them directly. So I just wanted to respond. Sorry. And then Councilman Tunis.
So to like single, sorry, it's a complex.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, we've heard, I just was gonna go call the question. We heard people that were for it, those that were against it. I think at this point, we should just call the question and see how we can move forward.
Okay.
Agreed.
All right, so a motion to call the question of, sorry, I need a. So, is there a second on calling the question?
Second.
Sorry.
Phillips.
Phillips, yes, thank you. To call the question. So all those in favor of calling the question, please signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Opposed, say your name. Great. Okay, so question
abstaining.
From calling the question?
Yeah, I just don't know enough about it one way or the other. I need to learn more about it.
That's not the motion to approve the motion. It's not, we weren't voting on approving the motion yet. It was
You're just voting on having the vote to approve the motion or not. Yeah.
Okay, so you're abstaining from that? Okay. Then you need to send in a letter to Alexis on why you abstained from that motion to call the question. Okay. All right.
Madam President, I will also have to abstain, but I will have to abstain from the vote as well on the resolution to send a solicitor. But I want to make it real clear, I have nothing to do with this project. I do not represent the developer in this project.
So
I do have a former relationship. I'm going to state my reason. I do have a former relationship in the past with the owner of the property. That is proposing to sell.
I just want to clarify that you're abstaining to the motion on the motion to send the solicitor, but were you abstaining on calling the question as well?
I have to abstain on all.
Yes, I abstain from both.
Okay, great. I just want to make sure I fully understand. Abstain. Okay, so make sure you guys send your letter. All right, great. Okay, so let's do a roll call. Ms. Phillips, since there's some abstaining going on so that we're clear on what we're doing. So the motion on the floor is whether or not we send solicitors to represent council to oppose the apartment and uphold the ordinance, the zoning variances, the zoning code, sorry. That's the motion on the floor. Go ahead, Ms. Phillips. You can unmute yourself.
Yes, Madam President. So everyone understands the question on the floor, correct? So Councilman Tunis,
No.
Councilwoman Billups is a no. Councilman Silva, I'm sorry.
No.
Councilwoman Blackwell,
No.
Councilman Gwynn,
Abstain.
Councilman Burke,
Yes.
Councilman Siddiq,
No.
Councilwoman Faralia,
Yes.
Councilman Bonnet,
Abstain.
Councilman Wagner,
Yes.
and Council President Wentz.
No.
Okay.
1,
2 abstains and 3 yes.
3 yes,
Yeah,
2
yeah, that's
abstains.
no. Yes, and 2 abstains.
Okay. Okay. So the motion does not carry. However, I would highly recommend any and all council members who want to attend the zoning board hearing on, and would like to speak on this issue to please do so. So great. Is there any other sorry, Councilman Wagner?
I'm sorry I interrupted you. I just thought the point you made earlier was a real good one that might bear repeating at the end of this discussion, that people who send us emails can appear at that meeting themselves and express their opinions, and well should probably. So I just thought that was good to repeat.
Yes, I agree. We definitely need the residents to reach out to the zoning board with their concerns. I know that based on what has been discussed, that many have come together and they have hired an attorney to represent themselves, but anyone who's not in that coalition, make sure that, you know, they have their voices heard, for sure. Councilman Burke.
Yes, thank you, President Wentz. I believe on 127, the Dwight Group said that they were going to have a meeting with the Rose Lawn Committee group. I know you asked Councilwoman earlier, and they didn't have that. So on good faith of the Dwight Group, I believe they're not showing any good faith since they're appearing on the 25th at the zoning board hearing, that they said they were going to have some kind of meeting with the people of the neighborhood. So just wanted to point that out. You asked earlier, and thanks for having the vote.
I'm sorry.
Yes, CAO.
I mean, Councilman Burke, with all due respect, based on what are you making the assertion that the Dwight City Group is the party not showing good faith? What do you know about the conversations between the civic group and the developer? What do you know about the conversations between the civic group's attorney and the developer? How do you know the developer hasn't reached out to them every? So why would you make the assertion?
Because the question was asked earlier in the meeting by President Wentz to.
You just admitted that you're basing it on nothing. Why would you make the assertion?
Okay, and why don't we have the plans that you have?
Right,
You said we would be able to see the plans. We haven't been issued any plans. We don't.
That's not.
All right, the question was moved. The question was moved. Why are we still discussing it? Can we move forward? The question was moved.
We're still on old business.
Nope, not about this. The question was moved, fellas. Sorry.
Sorry,
President Wentz?
Same question.
No, I think that we have covered this.
Yes.
At this point in time, I think people need to go and take part in the zoning board, see the full presentation. CA Rongione, if there are any plans that council could see or any information we could see, is there any way to get that so we have a better understanding of this aspect? I mean, I know that nothing has officially come to council as of yet, so I don't think there's anything technically in our realm yet, or I'm not sure.
Right. So yeah. Sorry.
So if there is anything, please send it our way. If there isn't, we will patiently wait and observe at the zoning board. Okay.
Sure. Happy to do it. Yep.
Thank you. Thank you. So any other old business? Councilman Burke.
Yes, thank you, President Wentz. We spoke about 7 months ago about a project to be finished along the Ronomic Business District, about the sidewalks and pavers. I believe we were speaking about it back in September or October. Any update on that? Whether the walkway was going to be done in pavers? Is that being done by the township? Is it being done by the Holiday Inn? Any update on that?
No, no update at this time.
Any future update with the Ronomic Business District, so they would know? Hopefully they'll be open as COVID passes us, and time restraints along those corridors, to give them heads up business wise.
Sure. Happy to look into it and get back to you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other old business? Councilman Bonnet?
Thank you, Madam President. I suppose this is old business because it was discussed at the beginning of the meeting. I want to go back to the Good Friday issue and the calendar. I believe that we need to address that issue. I am personally offended by, as a Christian, that it was taken off the calendar. And I do believe we need, as council, to take action on this. Therefore, I am moving that the council direct the administration to reinstitute Good Friday on the calendar on April 2nd and in all future years' calendars.
So just to make sure I fully understand, we have a motion to reinstate Good Friday, the name, Good Friday, on township calendars. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
Point of order.
Uh,
Is it in addition to springtime that he wants on the calendar, or just by itself? Good Friday.
I will clarify that by itself, as it were in the past.
To change the name back to Good Friday from Spring Day.
Correct. That is my motion.
Right, reinstate Good Friday on the calendar instead of Spring Day.
And just to clarify, it was called Spring Holiday.
Spring Holiday, thank you.
On the new calendar. And by the way, I would like to second the motion.
Okay.
Just to be clear.
Yes.
Because this came up in the new business, I understand council has a right to vote. I'd have to figure out if council passes this, if council can direct the administration to change this. I just want to be clear. I don't know about the necessary legality of this. I'm not trying to prevent any council vote, but I'm just saying I don't want to give an opinion at this time.
Right, and according to the Home Rule Charter, we're the legislative body. We create the policies and the laws, but it's up to the mayor and administration to implement those, and that we do not tell them how to do the day-to-day job, because that's their responsibility.
Madam President, if I may, I would consider this a policy statement.
Then would
Councilor Burnett, you're not actually demanding the administration change it. You're saying this is your intent as a council or as a body that they change it back. That's what you're basically saying. It's a policy statement.
But if
I am stating it as a policy.
as policy, would that make more sense for this issue to go before a law government committee to discuss the potential policy on that, and then to bring that back forward to council?
Well, I would like my motion to stand. I'd like to have a vote on the motion.
Okay, I just wanted to, it's new ground for us, so I just wanted to make sure we're, so, and it has been moved and seconded for policy to, okay, so the motion is for policy to reinstate the name Good Friday on the calendar instead of spring holiday. Just want to make sure we're clear of what the motion is. I see Councilman Silva, Wagner, and Tunis. So Silva, go ahead.
Thank you, Council President. I just like to state for the record that I was raised Roman Catholic. My mother is a devout Roman Catholic. I converted some time ago to being a Quaker, but that's still a Christian. And I observe Good Friday, in the way that basically my mother taught me, right, as a child, like that from 12 to 3 on Good Friday, you genuflect, you fast, you consider like the sacrifices that I, as a Christian, believe that Christ made on my behalf. That being said, I don't see how, if it's called spring holiday and not Good Friday, I couldn't still do that. As a matter of fact, for the many years I've been in the private sector, I don't always get that day off. Some days you do, some days you don't. Some days you just, basically like you would just have to do this through your regular day at work. I understand that people who are Catholics may have concerns about this holiday being removed, but I'd like to remind them that we don't really have a lot of other religious faith holidays on our calendar as days off. And I think that the fact that the township employees have this day as to worship as they wish, or, however they do it, is already kind of a benefit. And I feel like that what you name it is kind of important, and it also reflects an insensitivity to the so many residents of Upper Darby who may not be Christian or may not be Catholic. And I don't understand how it's an issue. What we call the day, how you observe the day, is certainly a personal item. And I am amazed at the amount of anger towards a name. So that's my thoughts. But I look forward to the vote. I believe we should have a roll call vote on this.
Thank you. Councilman Wagner.
Thank you. I'm just appalled at this development. I'm absolutely appalled at it. And with all due respect to my friend, Mr. Silva, I submit that both he and the mayor in her explanation of this now an hour and a half ago at least, completely missed the point of what we're talking about here. This is not about celebrating a religion or celebrating a religious belief. The problem here is that this holiday, named for an extremely well-known and ancient holiday in civilization, has been on our calendar for longer than any of us can remember, and it was suddenly changed without a word of discussion with this council or any opportunity to the public whatsoever to weigh in on it. Once again, the transparency mayor and her administration strike, doing things without soliciting any comment at all. I'm remembering so well the closing of the senior center in Pilgrim Gardens without a word of discussion with us either. That's exactly what happened here. So now we've, in the minds of a lot of people, now what we've done is we've canceled Good Friday. What's next? Christmas? The same discussion could be had about that. The mayor's explanation to us was that it's disrespectful to other religions. I wrote this down when she said it, or to other religious groups. Were there complaints from anyone about this? If there were, I'd sure like to know about that and what those complaints were and who they came from. We weren't told about any, at least tonight. I'll tell you what's disrespectful here, really. Disrespectful is having taken a step like this without discussing it with council, without soliciting input, just doing it as if nobody would care about this. You knew perfectly well a lot of people would be offended by it and would care about it, and you just did it anyway without any public discussion whatsoever and without giving a damn what this council thought about it. That's disrespectful. Disrespectful also is not having discussed this when we were reading all those comments from people in public. That could be 2 hours ago at this point. Many of them probably have dropped off now and aren't even able to listen. So I think those things are disrespectful. The explanation that by having Good Friday on our trash and recycling calendar is somehow disrespectful to anybody is ridiculous.
I want to jump in here. I never said.
Please do not interrupt me. Please do not interrupt me. I get the floor seldom enough, so allow me to finish, please. And then, of course, you'll say whatever you say. I think it was disrespectful for the mayor and the administration to do this, to do something as jarring as this to the public without discussing it with council first, and I'm appalled by it. And I really want you to change this and move it back to what it was before. I have nothing further to say.
Mayor Keffer?
So it's a real interesting way to twist my words. I never said that saying Good Friday was disrespectful. And on the recycling and trash calendar, it was changed to spring holiday. And what I said was that it was done in order to be more inclusive and respectful of Upper Darby's diverse community. We can have a difference. We have a difference of opinion here.
That's for sure.
And well, I didn't interrupt you, but it's okay for you to interrupt me or inject.
No, you're right. I shouldn't interrupt.
So I think you put up there's a motion in place, and maybe council should vote on it. I'm not sure where. So you're talking about different decisions that the administration makes, and how many of those do we actually should we run by council before they're put into place? That's a slippery slope. But I never meant to disrespect anybody, and the Friday before Easter Sunday is a guaranteed paid holiday to township workers. That's not going to change. That was never going to change. So.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question back then to the mayor, please? Simply, is that term going to be changed in the labor contracts? Because it's in there right now.
Well, that's a good question.
Thank you.
That's a good question. Yep.
Okay. So going on to
what's the answer?
The answer is it's a good question. So
I'm not going to like that, Laura.
Councilman, well, I think it's a matter of looking into the contracts, and therefore.
I second calling the question.
So, wait.
Cutting off discussion.
Councilman Tunis. I'm sorry. Were you calling the question, Councilman Tunis?
No, I actually had a comment.
Oh, I thought he did. I'm sorry.
No problem. Yeah. So, many of my colleagues are framing this in a way to make it seem as if the administration is slighting a holiday or changing a day. I think what we need to keep in mind is we represent all of Upper Darby, right? Some members in each district need to, I think the the approach should be, we should add every religious holiday or observance day that represents our township. If we're not going to do that, then we shouldn't put anything on there. There's many residents in Upper Darby Township that don't share this faith, and their observances or days they honor aren't on the calendar. So I think if, just like many other things that's been happening in Upper Darby, I think if it's not representing the majority or it's not giving everybody opportunity, I don't think it should just be one religion's observance day or holiday. And the reality of it is we do represent all of Upper Darby. And to my friend from the second, said a statement that he gets the floor, I think seldomly, I don't know exactly what he said, but everyone here gets the floor. Like this idea and this narrative that some people are trying to push, that we silence residents, we silence council members, simply just not true. And residents know it's not. So my best advice is just stop. You look ridiculous in public because people know it's not true. And also, this is an interesting way to start off Ash Wednesday.
Councilwoman Billups is next.
Thank you, Council President Wentz. So, as a Christian, I personally prefer Good Friday. However, I would like to offer a compromise. So on the calendar, it says spring holiday, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So how about saying something like spring holiday, and in parentheses also put Good Friday. So that way you are, I don't want to say appeasing people, but you're not angering people either. You're, I didn't say you're, but people are not upset about not having Good Friday on the calendar, and it's also a holiday. The holiday is still there, and both holidays are being met. It's just a compromise, and I think both parties, as a Christian, I know I would be okay with that, because Good Friday is still there and spring holiday is there also. Just a suggestion.
Okay. Councilman Barnett is next.
Thank you, Madam President. If I understood Councilman Tunis correctly, I kind of agree with him that perhaps we should identify other major religious holidays on the calendar as a place, just as a matter of placing those holidays on the calendar, whether or not it is in fact a holiday for the township. I do not take exception to that at all. I think that would be a fine idea. But with regard to the motion that I made, as I said earlier, I am stating it both as a council policy and as a directive to the administration to change it back to simply Good Friday. That's my motion, and I stand on that motion.
Okay, Councilman Burke.
Thank you, President Lynch. As I agree with Councilman Tunis that we are a township of 72, 82 nationalities. The calendar gets printed and made up, and whatever we put on the calendar to respect all religious holidays, that we could put it on the calendar. I do agree with Councilwoman Billups and Councilman Tunis, along with Councilman Bonnet also. We should be looking into that. Maybe it has to go to law and government, President Wentz, I'm not sure, but I'm in favor of all the religious holidays to be put on the calendar.
And just real quick, I'm sorry, Council President Wentz, just real quick. I think that's something that law and government can look into, because there are numerous holidays that we would have to put on the calendar.
And also want to just clarify that there might be 80 different languages, but I think there's far more than that number of religions, that the languages, the school may, in the school they speak 80 different languages, but it's, the number of actual religions may be smaller or larger depending on, there are many different divisions in that realm. Okay, so the list I have is Councilman Siddiq next because he hasn't spoken yet. And then Councilman Gwynn because he also hasn't spoken yet. So Councilman Siddiq, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam President, to give me opportunity to say a few words. I heard all the discussion regarding the calendar. I don't want to repeat whatever the previous speaker said, but I'm supportive of put all the religion calendar, their holidays as like a Upper Darby diverse community, and also as an example like a Muslim, they have a Ramadan, and we can put that one in the calendar. And I would like to thank our mayor and administration that they feel that our Darby is a diverse community, and I have 100% respect for all the religion, regardless for any reason. So it's my request, whatever happened this year printed already, but next one we'll discuss with the community people. We have 84 languages, but we don't have that many religion. Major religion, major holiday we can put in especially for Upper Darby Township. Thank you.
Okay, and Councilman Gwynn hasn't spoken yet. Go ahead.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what Sadiq was saying, and also Michelle. This is a multicultural event that we're trying to display on a calendar. And I know my dealings with Barbara Ann that she is one that very much likes to make sure everybody has an equal chance. And I think she's trying to pick a neutral area. But just as been said by others, we need to educate ourselves in the tolerance of others' views and religions. And this is one of those items. As best we can, I know it could be a lot of different holidays or holy days that each group may have, but as much as reasonably possible to print up, it could be informative to let people know of what's happening in others' lives. So
Okay.
thanks for bringing it up.
Thank you, Councilwoman Blackwell.
So just to, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Not anymore. You need to unmute yourself. You need to unmute. I heard you for a moment, then you muted yourself. There you go.
So just what we're putting on the calendar, we have to be able to clarify that we're dealing with the administration as far as what's paid and unpaid and the resources are available. We want to recognize all to be inclusive, but if there could be a stipulation whether or not, what we're trying to do here, we're trying to say, is this a paid vacation or is this not a paid vacation? Is this something we want to recognize? So we're putting this on the calendar. So, we have a vast amount of different religions and so forth. So we have to put that in consideration, or are we putting that in consideration? We don't, it could be rhetorical as far as are we answering that or not, but that's just there. So if you're going to put one religion, do we put all religions? And is that benchmark what all counties do? Or are we just recognizing those that are paid and unpaid?
So that's actually a really good question, Councilwoman Blackwell, just to clarify that the dates that are, the holidays that are listed on the calendar, the township calendar, are more specific to the holidays that the workers have off. Is that fair to
Right,
say?
so they're off, so they're paid.
And that's why it's on the calendar?
Exactly. So is that the significance of that as compared to those that could be on the calendar and they're recognized and unpaid?
Right. So CAO Raggioni, can you give us some clarification that all the holidays that show up on the township calendar, that those are specifically ones that are named in, are they all named in contracts?
Yeah, so I think I can answer that, and also just provide some clarity in general. So for many years, the township did put out an entire 12-month calendar, and as far as I know, there was no discussion at any time of being inclusive or tolerant or including a diverse array of religious or ethnic, nationalist celebrations or holidays on that calendar. At no time was that brought up.
Mm-hmm.
This year, what you have is a trash and recycling schedule. You don't actually have a calendar in the same sense as previous years. What you have is a trash and recycling schedule, and that schedule denotes, in the form of a calendar, kind of, those certain weeks when there's a holiday for township employees. Not a specific religious observance for any individual township employees, but a paid work holiday for township employees. So on the trash and recycling schedule, what is attempting to be denoted is this is a holiday week for trash and recycling pickup. Nothing more and nothing less. No implication, connotation, insinuation about any particular religion or religion in general, etc. So another important, very material fact that was purposely omitted by some of the commenters is that there is still a Christian holiday on the calendar. Christmas appears on the calendar. And the well-known reason and difference between Good Friday and Christmas is that Christmas is a national holiday. It's a federal holiday. And so it is rightly observed on a government document in that fashion. But what we have here is not a national holiday. What we have here is a trash and recycling schedule. And it's important for the residents to know that there's a holiday on that day. And as the mayor stated, she supports anyone and everyone's religious right to observe whatever religion on whatever day they choose. But this is about a trash and recycling schedule. If the council or the administration or whomever wanted to put out, a community calendar and put all different kinds of stuff on there, they could certainly do that. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it, but whatever, you can do whatever but this is a trash and recycling schedule, and that's what's attempting to be communicated to the residents about the trash and recycling schedule.
Thank you for that clarification.
Sure.
Thank you, Councilwoman Blackwell, for that question, because that really kind of helped bring everything together.
Absolutely.
Okay, so before Councilman Wagner or Silva speak again, is there anyone else who hasn't weighed in? I think we've actually gone through everybody. Okay, so Councilman Wagner.
Thank you. I'll be very brief. In the first place, I just have to respond to the expression of surprise when I said before that it could be difficult getting the floor. It came from the same councilman who more often than anybody else calls the question while we're still trying to have a productive discussion. I know that's happened to me repeatedly, so please spare me that kind of histrionics. Mostly though, I want to bring this discussion back to what I think is the real point of it, because that's been twisted and lost here. This decision should not have been made without council's involvement and input. That's the point. And I don't know whether our CAO and others are trying to just ignore that, but I think that's the problem. There wasn't any approach to council about it to discuss what would obviously be a subject of great public interest, as shown by the outpouring of emails that we got tonight. That's what I object to in particular. I'm in favor of leaving it as Good Friday, which is, by the way, included in, what, 3 of our labor contract? But if the council decides that it should be changed, so be it. Council can own that. Right now, that decision belongs to the mayor, apparently, and the public should know that. Thank you.
Councilman Silva?
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to speak again on this topic. I do believe the point of this discussion is kind of lost, and I feel like it's sort of been lost from the beginning. This is the document that we're speaking of as Councilwoman Blackwell and CAO Rondion mentioned. We are talking about the 2021 holiday trash scheduling and recycling scheduling information. That is what we're talking about. We are not removing holidays from people's religions. We're not including a list of all holidays celebrated by various members of the township. So I feel like that the purpose of this document is to let people know when your trash day is not that Monday, but it's actually the following Wednesday or what have you. And that's what this document is for. And so yes, we've changed the name of Good Friday, which is very specific to a very specific religion, to spring holiday. It is a holiday. It does happen in spring, and it will cause your recycling schedule to change. And you've upset my dog. Well, I'm sorry, I upset my dog. But at the same time, I feel like I agree that the point of this discussion has gotten lost, and I would like to bring it back. That we shouldn't include a list of every holiday in this township. There would be over 100 of them, and they're not all. They do not impact the trash and recycling schedule. And I also don't feel like there's any need to have religious connotations in the trash and recycling schedule. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. I do agree with Councilman Silva on not cluttering the trash and recycling schedule with all the holidays, but I do like the idea of if the Law and Government Policies Committee would like to discuss a community calendar as suggested to celebrate all holidays that anyone would want to be able to have acknowledged somewhere, that we could post that on social media type of thing and empower residents to reach out to council of what holidays they would want included in something like that. Because there's a lot of holidays that are out there that I believe, because we don't know all the religions celebrated by our residents, and it might be a great community gathering event, or it could go to the events committee to work on with the community to gather all the holidays on a list or calendar. So that's something that we can look into for the future. So I just wanted to put that as a separate, completely separate entity as a way to bring everybody together. So, all right, so we have a motion on the floor, and I think everyone has weighed in on this. So at this point in time, could we get a roll call vote on this motion of a policy? Let me go back to a motion for a policy to reinstate the name of Good Friday on the township calendar instead of spring holiday. Okay, so Ms. Phillips, can you give us a roll call vote? You need to unmute yourself. Unmute. Ms. Phillips, you're still muted. I didn't do it this time. Ms. Phillips, are you able to unmute yourself?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
there you go. There you go.
I apologize.
Okay.
Councilman Tunis?
No.
What is the motion?
I've already repeated the motion. Do you need me to repeat it again? I'll repeat it again. The motion was made for a policy to reinstate the name of Good Friday on the township calendar instead of spring holiday. Go ahead, Ms. Phillips.
Councilman Thunis,
No.
Councilwoman Billups, I'm going to abstain.
Okay.
Councilman
You'll
Silva,
have to send a letter to Alexis on why you abstained.
I will.
Okay.
Councilman Silva,
No, no.
Councilwoman Blackwell,
Yes, so we're saying that it should be not spring holiday to Good Friday?
yes.
No, wait. It's a yes if you want it to become Good Friday, and no if you want it to stay as spring holiday.
Be Good Friday.
So you support Good Friday?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I apologize. I thought it was the other way around, Council President Wentz.
So yes for it to be Good Friday.
No question. I thought the motion was in reference to ordering the administration to add Good Friday to the calendar. There wasn't an option of two. I'm just trying to clarify.
Councilman Barnett?
I will clarify. My motion is to direct the administration to restate April 2nd and all future, on the calendars of all future years as Good Friday. Obviously, it may be a different date in future years. And to state that as well as a policy of council.
Okay, so if you vote yes, you want Good Friday on the calendar. If you vote no, you want spring holiday on the calendar.
Right, I just want to add one more point. As I look up on Google, Pennsylvania state holidays, they list Good Friday, April 2nd.
Okay, so Ms. Phillips, since we had a little more discussion during it, can you start at the top of the list?
Yes.
Can I, 1 second? Please.
Okay. So everyone let's be completely clear. If you vote yes, you're voting yes for Good Friday on the calendar. If you vote no, you're saying you want spring holiday on the calendar. That's all that's where we are.
Right.
A yes for Good Friday, a no for spring holiday.
Before we go for the vote, may I know that I am
in the vote. We're in the middle of the vote. You're out of
No, we are not in the middle of the vote. We are
in the middle of the vote.
No, we are restarting the vote, right?
We are in the middle. Look, the process has begun. So if you want to ask or get clarification when your name is called for the vote, you can do it at that point in time. But Ms. Phillips has the floor to call the vote.
But I have a question before vote start.
No, the vote has already started. You are out of order. Councilwoman Phillips, please continue, please.
Okay, so Councilman Thunis.
No, because it should have all religions. So I'm going to be voting no.
Councilwoman Billups is abstaining.
Correct.
Councilman Silva.
No.
Councilwoman Blackwell.
Since it should have all of religious, I'm going to table this whole thing. I'm going to table it.
You can't table it.
I'm tabling it.
You cannot table it.
If it should have all religions, then
you cannot table. It's a yes, a no, or an abstain.
Yes, no, or abstain, Councilwoman.
It's going to be Good Friday or all religions. Bottom line.
No.
Yes.
It's a yes for Good Friday, a no for spring holiday, or an
It's going to be
abstain.
a yes for Good Friday or abstain.
So which one are you doing, Councilwoman Blackwell?
You have to
Yes or
choose
abstain?
one.
It's going to be Good
Choose.
Friday, like it was Good Friday.
So she's,
Okay.
so she's
So you're
saying
Good
yes.
Friday. Yes for Good Friday.
Okay. Councilman Gwynn,
Yes.
Councilman Burke,
Yes.
Councilman Siddiq,
No.
Councilwoman Faralia,
Yes.
Councilman Barnett,
Yes.
Councilman Wagner,
Yes.
and Council President Wentz.
No, the
Okay,
yes
so-
has it.
Okay. And one abstain.
Yep.
Yeah, and I just want to be very clear, as I kind of said up front, I'll research this some more, but I do not think council can compel the administration to change a recycling calendar. I'm going to have to look at that issue, but my initial inclination is that you can't, but I'll look into it.
Thank you. Thank you.
I believe Councilor Wagner had his hand raised.
Yep, I see that. Councilman Wagner?
Just very briefly, I like our solicitor and I respect him a lot, but I don't think what he just did was appropriate. He was not asked for an opinion. If we want his opinion, we'll ask for it, but we haven't done that. And I don't think he should gratuitously offer it in that way. Thank you.
Actually, I disagree. I disagree. I actually was going to ask him for clarification on it, so he just got to it before I could ask for it. So, Councilman Burnett.
Thank you, Madam President. I take issue with that. I believe, again, I do have a great deal of respect for Solicitor Kilkenny, but I think a calendar is a calendar. It's a township calendar, regardless of what its purpose. It always included, our calendars always included our trash pickup days. That was one of the prime functions of it, as a matter of fact. And it always included Good Friday. So I think it's a simple issue. I think the fact that it is a calendar, I believe council has control over that. I think had this not been changed, we would not be having this lengthy discussion, obviously. Again, I just stand on the fact that we have, in my opinion, the right to affect what goes into the calendar. We should, again, as was said by, I believe, Councilman Wagner, we should have at least been asked for an opinion.
Well, it's already, your motion has passed, so.
I agree.
Thank you for the kind words and the respect. I respect all of council, and I will honestly look into the issue and send everybody an email, and I'm sure great minds may agree or disagree with whatever I write. So, yeah.
Thank you. Councilman Siddiq, did you have something you wanted to say on this issue or another?
Yes, I do. I have, once again, I have 100% respect for all the religion. And my question was, before voting, I was arguing that if there's any council had any approved. This is my 5th year in council. This last 5th year, I don't see any council approval to put the Good Friday. Any council member, any other administration can say when it was approved by the council, where we are denying today by the council.
When I was on council, we, as far as I know, the calendar never came to council for our approval before it went out. I never saw it. So, and it didn't actually, this year, it wasn't actually a calendar. It's a newsletter with the schedule of trash and recycling schedule. It's not, no one received a physical calendar this year. It's a calendar online. If people wanted to download a calendar and get it, but the actual, what was mailed out is a newsletter and not a full-blown 12-month or sometimes 13-month calendar of the 2020 year and then the month of January for 2022. So, but I think we've talked about this thoroughly enough for one evening. Is there any new business for council? Because we're still technically under old business. So new business. Anybody? Councilman Sadiq.
Any update with the vaccination in our township employee, council people? As a councilman, when I can get the vaccine from on behalf of the township?
CAO?
Yeah, no, I wish I had more of an update. We have continued to work with county council to try to locate a vaccine site in Upper Darby Township when the county starts to receive more vaccine doses. We have been fortunate that our police and fire, first responders have largely been able to get vaccinated. So that's a good start in terms of township employees. We continue to work on it, and the county continues to be optimistic that more doses will be made available. But that's really where we are. Unfortunately for us, the folks on this call and the folks who work in the township building, et cetera, we tend to be either 1B or 1C eligibility, and we just
you froze a little
have to
bit.
sort of wait patiently and go on. Oh, sorry about that. You got me?
Yep. Yeah. So elected officials, we are in 1C, and then other township employees are in 1B. So we're not there yet in the list, especially for our area. The county did post a list of all these vaccine sites. And actually I shared it on our council page. And then a lot of comments came in from residents that most of the places either A, were not fully set up for vaccines yet, or B, their appointments were all full. So there's been problems with getting enough vaccines to the different locations for people to be able to schedule an appointment. So hopefully there'll be more vaccines coming this way in the near future. Councilman Wagner?
I just follow up on what the CAO was saying. There are private enterprises now springing up and making it available, and you got to be pretty aggressive to look for them. One in particular was our former colleague on the council, Reverend Nate Goodson, and his church partnered with 2 hospitals, I believe, and then put it on Facebook to the entire Upper Darby community. And there's various other hospitals around that, they make it available and then they run out, and then they get more and so on. And you can look a little further beyond our shores too, like our borders, like I understand Lehigh Valley Hospital has been able to schedule a lot of people, and then they'll go for a week not being able to schedule because they've run out of vaccine, and then they get more. And so it's a lot of calling and going online. Unfortunately, like some of you, I'm a little bit older, so I can qualify in that regard, I guess. But anyway, that's something to point out. Facebook, I think, is a real good resource for it.
Yes, definitely. Any other new business from council or anyone? Okay, seeing none. Thank you for today. I know not all conversations were fully respectful, but for the most part, everyone, I think, did a relatively good job. You guys rock. We agree to disagree many times, and we also do agree on a lot of things, because you can see that from a lot of the votes that we had this evening. So thank you for the great discussions. And can we get our last fabulous motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Wagner and Phillips. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, say your name. Ayes have it. Thank you very much. Have a great night. And
Good
it's
night, all.
44.
Night.
Have a good
Night.
night, everybody. Be safe.
Yeah.